Good afternoon. I'm calling to order the meeting of the Public Art Committee. It is Wednesday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. 2024 at 2 p.m. in the City Hall second floor media room. Megan, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Toth.
Here.
Ms. Christopoulos.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. McGrath.
Here.
Ms. Arbitello.
Here.
Ms. Taylor.
Here.
Ms. Wood.
Here.
Chair Jennings.
Here. So we have a complete board, so obviously we have a quorum. Acknowledgement of guests, I see Tina Bukovalis. Okay. Approval of the meeting minutes for January 10th, 2024. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Graham, can I get a second?
I'll do it.
Nick? Is there any comments, corrections?
No,
Anybody?
looked good to me.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Old business, current project updates, the Riverside Field mural project. Diane?
Yes, I've been working with Mr. Ramirez, now that the Public Art Committee has approved it, and so has the Board of Commissioners. The only thing left was his contract, and of course, the insurance. He had questions about the insurance since he's just a sole proprietor, and so I met with the city attorney, and that she wants to review the current contract again and make some changes. The original one was done by Tom Trask, so she would like to take some time. She said if we want to move this forward, what we can do is, he has general liability insurance, of course, but we could go ahead and roll in the other fees, as you see on the invoice here, that he's required to hold, so we can move the contract forward and he can begin. He's been ready for about 2 months to do this, and we've been going back and forth. So he's been very easy to work with and very understanding, very, forthcoming with whatever I ask him to do. He got some quotes that he gave me of, different insurance companies, and he's using the at least, the one that's the less expensive. And so I would recommend to the Public Art Committee that they go ahead and approve this revised invoice and let him get started.
Okay. The one thing I noticed with the terms, it's a 50% deposit due on receipt of invoice. Usually we do a third, and a third.
Well, that was for Stevens because of different,
Okay.
every contract is different and negotiable, and so we did check it with the finance department.
Okay.
And it's acceptable for him to get his supplies up front, so he
Right.
can do the work, because it is the whole building.
Right, okay. Can't believe the price of the insurance.
Right.
Everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the revised contract for Mr. Ramirez for the Riverside Field mural project?
So moved.
Graham? Second?
I'll second.
Eva? Okay, any discussion going forward? Graham?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that the 50% deposit just covers, with a little spare change, the actual costs involved that he has to pay
Right.
before anything else, and that most of the remaining 50% will be going towards his artist fee. So
Right.
I'm very happy with that 50-50.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just wanted to make sure that, it had been vetted by the
Yes.
attorney, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, moving on to the Black Heritage Project. I'd like to make some comments first. On Monday, February 12th, after 4 years, the first phase of the Black Heritage Project was unveiled at the CAP Center. I'd like to acknowledge and thank our wonderful city liaisons, Diane, Megan, and Brandon, who, helped set up things. Those in attendance, Mayor Vaticiotis, Commissioner Kulia, and former Mayor Craig Lunt, City Manager Mark Licouris, and many PAC members, including former member Robert Stackhouse, for attending. I think the comment I most heard was that the rendering did not do the sculpture justice, and that viewing it up close made an enormous difference. In fact, that was actually a quote by Mayor Vaticiotis. The historic photos of the Union Academy neighborhood chosen for the sculpture were truly best viewed up close to be appreciated. I'm glad to say that I believe this reinforces the location of the piece where it can be viewed for an extended time, just as the location on the sponge docks will do. The project is still very much in progress and will include landscaping, signage, and extensive and research text that will be available online through the uses of QR codes. And we'll discuss that in a little bit. These online references will also have the ability to be edited and supplemented with more images, narratives, and even sound or video clips. These pieces, while they are truly art, are also a learning and historic opportunity that will shine a light on a piece of Tarpon Springs history that is currently unknown to so many people. Okay, we got an email from Stephen. He's usually at our meetings, but he said he's working away at his studio on the Sponge Docks pieces, and hopefully that'll be ready to go. That's scheduled for March 7th at the Sponge Docks. And thank you, Diane. She and Stephen arranged for a March 26th lecture by Stephen at 6 p.m. at the Cultural Heritage Museum.
The Cultural Center.
The Cultural
That-
Center.
Yes, that confuses people.
Okay, Cultural Center.
Just Cultural Center.
I sit corrected.
No problem.
Okay, because, Stephen loves to talk about the piece, and I think that it, this will give him an opportunity to reach a wide variety of people in a setting where he can, discuss everything, his thoughts, how he developed it. I know he spent a lot of time in the community, talking to people and, soliciting, a lot of material that he used. And, I think it's a very valuable addition. He indicated that he was going to assemble all of the images he used for both sites, and either he or I, if he needs me to help, will prepare a PowerPoint that he'll present at the March 26th lecture. Okay? Nick, do you have any comments? Or I know you were there.
I thought the piece was great and all. I'd like to see the area around the piece landscaped and really brought up to the standard of the piece.
Right.
And all to. I
Right,
think
that's in the works.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Licouris indicated some ideas he had, and, Stephen indicated something, I don't know whether it will go over well, but he was talking about leaving some of the existing plantings there, because, when he was working on the piece, he actually saw butterflies hatching in there. So that's kind of a really neat thing, so,
Yeah, around the outside of it and the perimeter.
oh, yeah, no,
and
that's,
all, it's
yeah,
really-
yeah.
Will
so,
really help set it off.
Right. Kiba, did you have a chance to see it?
I have not, I've driven by it, I haven't had a chance to stop. Unfortunately, I work I teach during the days when it was happening, so
Right.
wasn't able to be there.
Graham, you were there.
Yes, I was. I enjoyed it very much. The piece itself is wonderful. It's a fact of life, however, that the kinds of images that Stephen was using, which are so old and they come from technology that wasn't as advanced as we have today. So they're blurry when they're blown up, and it's difficult sometimes to see what was going on and the importance of what was happening. However, with persistence you can, and with the addition of some text accessible online to describe what each image represents, I think that will be absolutely wonderful. I'm very, very proud to have been part of the Public Art Committee that has brought that to life. I think it's an important thing that we've done, and I appreciate everybody's input into it, starting from the original selection committee that met so many moons ago to try and figure out what we were going to do as a Black History project. And I think they've They've knocked the ball right out of the park, and the two pieces are going to be spectacular together and just outstanding individually.
Well, just to make a slight editorial aside, and I'm sure Tina will back me up on this, having done a couple herself, I did an Arcadia book on images, of America for my old hometown of Yonkers. And, right, Tina? Their photo standards are extremely high. They're very picky about, the images you present.
Not as high as some publishers, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. And there was one that they kept fighting me over because it was so grainy and fuzzy. It was a photograph of the Great Blizzard of '88. And even using modern technology, it was pretty.
Looked like a blizzard?
It looked like a blizzard. Amazing. Okay. Sonia, you were there?
Yeah, I was there, and I must say, also driving past, it doesn't give it justice. You literally have to stop and look. And once I did that, I was pleasantly surprised at just how much effort has gone into this. And it was also nice to actually meet a gentleman whose family is depicted on some of those photographs. And then I was thinking, I don't know, maybe it's, I don't know, not such a good thought, but I just thought it would actually be nice maybe if we could have some names so that if
Well, that's
somebody
gonna
actually
be
walked
the-
past and
Right.
because I think once people, because there's so much history and so many generations are still here, it would actually be nice to say, oh, that is Uncle so-and-so, or that was Mr. so-and-so. I don't know, I just thought it would be nice for some people to put some dots,
Well, that's what the
connect
online.
the faces with names.
Right, that's what the online QR codes are gonna take people to. It's
Okay.
gonna be, text and, it's gonna be an expansion on the images, of the, that are on the sculpture.
Yeah, because also I was thinking maybe people will actually come forward and say, hey, look, I have this photograph if you guys want to use it somewhere.
Right.
I don't know, I think this might become a huge project.
Yeah.
Almost like a constant work in progress.
Right, exactly.
Kind of
And
thing, I don't
maybe
know,
even
it was-
become a book or something like that,
That's what I was thinking as well. That Stephen could maybe later do like a nice coffee table book or something with the
Yeah.
whole history. I don't know.
He'd said that he
just-
has an enormous number of images that he didn't use for one reason or another, and plus some additional information that he has, and all of that is going to be made available online.
Right.
Yeah.
Dawn?
Yeah, but it was impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. I particularly enjoyed meeting some of the people who are relatives of the people on the piece. And I think that one of the things that, you can see it's not just a collection of photos, but it's interwoven with the background, which is, and I'm looking forward to Stephen's full explanation of what all went into it, but overlays of maps and wood grains and sky and, a lot of different things that really make it stunning when you get a chance to look at it up close and walk around. I did get an opportunity to talk to a couple of not residents, but he had family there, the gentleman that you and I were talking to. And I mentioned to him about, if he ever gets a chance and wants to add to it, if he could just do a quick video telling a story about, living with his grandparents in Turpin Springs and, how that would be kind of make this a living project and encourage other people to do it who aren't in the neighborhood or who don't live here anymore, but remember those kind of things. And definitely look forward to seeing how it can expand over time to really, flesh out the entire history of the area and Tarpon Springs in general and the multicultural aspect of it that I was unaware of until this project. So
Right.
I think it's super valuable.
Katie?
Well, as you know, born and raised in Tarpon, I'm very happy to be a part of this board, and my only intention is to make sure that all of us stay in a good light, especially in our community. I got different feedback, so the effort is very good. It's appreciated what's being trying to be done on that corner. But some of my concerns were, the things that I was asked about was the safety of that fence, the way it's around that retainage ditch. But you're saying Mark is gonna work on that safety-wise because it could be an insurance problem.
Right.
With somebody getting hurt.
Yeah, I know they're gonna do landscaping. I believe Stephen said they're also gonna do lighting and some, securities, so,
And he said that in his June 8th, 2023 meeting, because I went back and I listened to all those meetings. So he did mention that in the June 2023 meeting. Some people was asking if there's so much to be done, why was the exhibit why was it unveiled so soon? Because the pictures that's there, Stephen has a connection to the community, but people that walk by there every day and ride their bikes and drive by, and the kids that go to Union Academy, the pictures that's on that fence is pictures that come out of Ms. Rook's book. It comes straight out of a book. So I'm trying to see where the connection was made with the actual community, because he's saying people are asking him, "How can I get my family picture on
Right.
there?" But I'm thinking, if in the future, it's not done because you're saying there's still going
Right.
to be more work to be done, so we have time to fix some things. One thing I would like to suggest is have a meeting at Union Academy for our community. Call people there and have a meeting so you can actually speak to the community. I was kind of shocked that Mr. Archie, family picture was there, but he's saying nobody met with him. Commissioner Davis, he was saying that he don't see the connection of the Bahamian sponger to the picture the fence that you have there. That fence is a corral.
Carl, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a object that the sponges were kept in at the sponge docks. So
Sponges, not spongers, yeah.
sponges,
Yeah.
sponges, yeah.
Right.
And on that same note, I don't see a connection where the actual Bahamian sponger is being intertwined in there because Mr. Brooks. I don't know if you heard of Mr. Wilbert Brooks.
Sure.
Yeah, he's nowhere on that
Right.
corral, and he was the only Bahamian sponger that was a captain of a ship. And his granddaughter was still living, and she was wondering why nobody interviewed me, why nobody talked about my grandfather.
Well, remember, there's more to come on the docks.
Pardon?
There's more to come on the docks
Yeah.
that's more focused on the sponging.
Yeah, and that too. I was wondering why is it separate? Why is it a difference? What we put on the docks, why couldn't it be on that corner? And with the location, could there have been a location, on Union Academy ground? I don't know how that's situated with Union Academy, but it's over a ditch. But a lot of people were saying we need captions on there. Dodecanese, the Q&R code is going to work perfectly because people use it as on vacations. People use it at, but in that community, it's a lot of foot traffic. Kids go out there and walk around. They want to see captions on every picture, telling us who those people are. And then,
Right, well, that's kind of the purpose of the QR codes.
yeah, but that's what I mean. You got two different neighborhoods, so you
Right.
have to work within the neighborhood that you're representing there.
Right.
That location is not a Q&R code kind of location. It need captions on every one of those pictures telling the history. If he got it out of Miss Rook's book, he can just go right back to the Miss Rook's book and print out the captions and put them on each one.
Right.
Because I know the family that you're talking about, the Richardsons, yeah, they born and raised. Matter of fact, that's Ducky, Donald Taylor, used to work here. That's his first cousin.
Well, as I said, these are the people that might be down at the docks. Oh, Diane?
I think one thing you have to keep in mind is this is a piece of art. This is not a historic billboard. So you just have to, when you commission an artist, they get the gist of what you want, for the particular project, but then it's up to them and their creative process to create the piece. Is there gonna be things missing that, maybe the community would want? Absolutely, but he's working from, and he did extensive research, but it's also his choice as the artist as to what he puts on each piece. So keep that in mind, that's what this is. This is a piece of art.
Yes,
that
I
is-
think that's what we
It has to connect
tend
to
to
the
lose a little
community.
track of, that it's work of art. It's not a.
Exactly.
It's not
Yeah,
gonna
it's
be
not a historical-
It's not going to
no.
be a history lesson.
Right, but I mean, it's possible that if something like that is wanted, the Historical Society or something like that might be a good place to maybe have a photograph of it and then have the, you know, this photo, and have full captions if they want to do an exhibit like that. But this particular thing is a piece of art. It's not a historical installation.
Right.
And that's what
It's
we
a-
thought it was gonna be, historical
No, it's
installation.
art.
So it's
an
art,
piece.
it's nothing to do with the historical value
No,
of
right.
Bahamian
And,
sponger or nothing like that.
No.
Where it was derived
well,
from.
Dawn just reinforced what I was gonna tell you, was to, you know, go to the Tarpon Springs Historical
Oh,
Society.
yeah, every picture on there, I seen it come out of Ms. Rook's books.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pushing 70. Everybody on that wall, I know just about every family that's on there.
Well, that's kind of the point of the inclusion of those, you know, pictures of, you know, people that have contributed to Tarpon. In fact, the mayor even reinforced that, you know, the blacks in Tarpon Springs, you know, made more of a contribution than just to sponging. You know, he mentioned lumber mills, you know, turpentine, citrus. I'm sure Tina could come up with a whole bunch more, you know, that, you know, were, you know,
Right.
you know, I know that, you know, Custa mentioned, you know, the fact that when he was a little boy, he used to walk down to Goldie's Fish Market, you know, and that was, you know, run by a black family.
Okay, but what I'd like to ask, if it's okay, I would like to recommend and ask that captions be put on every one of those pictures, the ones that's blurred out. When y'all tweak it, because it sounds like you're gonna do some tweaking, it's not done yet, you're still working on it. So it's room for improvement.
Well, but putting
think
captions
so.
on it, would be appropriate for a historical installation. It's not really appropriate for an art piece.
And that would be up to Stephen. if he-
Right.
But that's what it's supposed to be, I thought it was.
No, it's
all
art
those
piece.
people.
We're the,
all those
yeah, this is
people
the
are
Public
supposed to be
Art Committee, we
historical.
just do, we
But I
do
thought
art.
all those people on there, you're saying
That's-
had historical value, so.
May I say
where does it
something?
playing in?
Asking for labels on all of those pieces of that piece of sculpture is rather like asking Michelangelo to label the muscles that you can see on David. It would be
Big different, but
inappropriate
okay.
because it is an art piece, it's a sculpture. It's not a historical document. The historical document is
it's not a
going to
historical
be
document.
part of the website that you can access through the QR code. In the same way that you can access on the web all kinds of information about Michelangelo's David and who modeled it and who didn't and why it looks the way it does. You know, that is not appropriate in the context of the piece, but is definitely appropriate as background for the piece. And,
I
you
think
know,
the community is a
it's-
little confused on what happened then. I think the community is not in tune with what actually happened, because on one hand, they're thinking it's a historical feature that it's gonna
Right.
tell everybody picture, and that you're gonna tell who these people are. Because they don't use Q&R codes in that community.
They
It's a-
don't have cell
They don't have
phones?
smartphones?
No, when you got people walking by there, some people just walk, somebody ride, somebody drive by.
Without- no cell phones?
Yeah, they got cell phones, and not everybody have a cell phone like you do on Dodecanese. I'm not trying to be difficult,
No, you're raising valid concerns that you heard from
I'm
the
just trying to
community.
say, because I want this committee, in our community, to shine. I want them to think that we care about what they asking.
Katie, that was the whole purpose of this project
It
in the
didn't
first
happen like
place.
that, Joan. So what I was gonna ask is it possible, the things that you wanna ask the community for, when you get ready to enhance it, can you have a meeting at CAP and let the community have a chance to talk to you and ask questions? Because out there, they weren't allowed to ask any questions. There was no open session to ask questions.
So I think maybe
during
that
time.
March,
These
that March
meetings-
26th thing where Stephen's gonna talk, because those are, when an artist does something, it's not our business then we commission an artist. The artist is who creates the piece, and we can't intervene in that piece of art. It is a piece of art, right? So, the person to have the conversation would be the artist.
Okay.
This committee can't tell the artist to put labels on his piece. That would be, disruptive visually to the piece of art. And so maybe, educating the community properly and that this is a piece of art, not a historical document, so that they can understand where it's coming from might be helpful. But Stephen would be the one that would have to, explain, educate, so maybe he does another event at, or something, but he would be the person that they would have to really get, that understanding from, because it's not our place. We commissioned him and said, okay, you're the person for the job. Once an artist makes their piece, we can't go back and say, you need to do this, because that's their art. It's not our art. And just so I had a similar experience, because I did several projects with the Greek community, right? And I had lots of families coming up to me, well, you didn't talk to me, you didn't interview me, you didn't do that, you didn't include that. Well, it's not, I can't, I couldn't incorporate everything, and I had a vision as to the things that I wanted to portray that meant something to me as an artist. So you're never going to please everyone, but I had the same experience of people, in my community saying, you didn't talk to my family, you didn't do that. Well,
Right, yeah.
It's not possible, right?
Right.
You have a vision as an artist, and this is what means something to you, and that's what you create. So it's not our place as a committee to go back and say, you have to put labels on it. That's a Stephen issue.
Right.
But I will say that I think it's a fantastic idea to talk to the community and get their
Absolutely.
additions to include more background. I mean, there's only so much you can do within a sculpture. There's only so much real estate. And maybe that's part of the reason why there's two different ones, because, talking about two different areas of focus for the art piece. But highly encourage everybody in Tarpon Springs to contribute their stories, their histories, their recollections, and add to the digital background that we're gonna have for both of these pieces.
Well, the other thing too, continuing on Dawn's thought, with the idea of having, online, supplement to this, is the possibility of doing audio and video clips.
Yeah.
That gentleman
I
that
would
was-
prefer video clips because they're more engaging to people who come and see it. And this is, it's as much about attracting tourism, art tourism to Tarpon Springs, and giving them the inspiration to want to learn more about it. So that's the inspiration, that's the art piece. And then what we can do as a committee is to provide the background in a digital way so that everybody can access it. They don't have to walk into a museum to do it. They don't have to walk into a cultural center. They can access it online from their homes or anywhere. And even if somebody's walking by, there is going to be a QR code and it's going to say, go here and see it. You don't just have the QR code.
The young people know how to
Yeah, yeah.
QR code.
Like anybody with a,
Yeah.
anybody with a smartphone can do that, but even if you don't have one, it'll say, go here online, and you can go to the public library if you don't happen to have access to a computer.
Right.
But online, we can reach the largest group of people
Right.
possible.
So
I
can we
heard
get-
somebody say that they have to come back with their grandkid.
Yeah.
Because the grandkid can
Can we
figure
get
it
a
out.
meeting established at Union Academy for the community to speak on this piece, to see if they want to add pictures or make arrangements with Stephen? Can we get Stephen down there?
Stephen
Well,
would be
he's
the one
coming,
that you.
well, he's coming on
Right.
the 26th.
But
and,
where's he coming on the 26th?
To
The
the
cultural
cultural
center.
center, the old,
can you-
old
but
city
he-
hall.
okay.
But it's not
Oh, the
to
other one, okay.
amend his current project. You have to understand
You're
that.
not gonna
And
make-
then
That's what I
who,
was gonna say.
is this something for the Historical Society versus the Public Art Committee? I
Right.
mean, we're in the business of doing art projects, not historical, exhibits. I mean, so that's the thing. We could talk maybe down the line about doing an exhibit, with my department, kind of thing. We actually had started some of that a while back, but it's like totally two different things. I think this is a good segue into the fact that we need to change the signage
Right.
on these things.
Right,
Because
Diane, if I could just back up a little bit. Katie, before you joined the committee, I gave you a thumb drive that had all of the backup materials. Did you look at all 14 proposals that were submitted for this?
No, I didn't. What
Do
I
it.
looked at was trying to see where Stephen communicated with the community. So that's my.
Well, that's between him.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah, because he was
But if you-
contracted by the
If
city.
you look at the other,
Yeah.
you know, Diane and I were shocked that we got 14 proposals for this, because frankly, our budget for this was quite low. And, you know, I have a very good friend in New York. Her concentration is portraying, you know, black piece, you know, she does pieces of black art. And she made a sculpture, it was called the Black Angel, for Central Park in New York, that replaced the statue of a doctor that was using black women to experiment. He was inducing abortions. And when they found out, they took that down, and she put this up as a replacement. And she came in second for a statue of Sojourner Truth in Philadelphia. She was the runner-up. That was a $500,000 project. And I actually spoke to her, because by ordinance, we could identify artists. And she said, Joan, she said, I'm not gonna do that for $130,000. It's not worth my time. She was on a whole different level. And she said, I'm frankly skeptical if you'll get any responses. But it resonated so much, I think, the call, that we ended up with 14 proposals, including one from Spain. But if you look at the other proposals, none of them had any local representation whatsoever. They were all, right, Diane? They were all abstract, you know, but Stevens was the one that was picked out by the selection committee. It wasn't even selected here. And, you know, that committee had a cross-section of people from Tarpon Springs. You know, and in fact, two of the members on that committee have since passed away. So, you know, that's how long this project's been going on. So, you know,
2020.
I think the most important thing to note is this is an art project. It's a sculpture.
There you go.
It's not a historical
That clear.
installation.
It's not,
Right.
that was the
But we
most important
want to
thing for me
back
to
it
hear.
up. We want to back it up with historical information. We want to add to it from the community.
Yeah.
So maybe doing a presentation, maybe with Stephen or us or everybody in that area saying, hey, this is what we're looking for, this is what we would like. And we won't be able to do that until we get the site up and running where we're gonna be putting that stuff. But once we do that, you know, I fully see us, you know,
Right.
letting everybody know that this is what we're looking for.
right, but Katie, do take a minute or two and go back to that thumb drive and look at the other proposal, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I'm more concerned about what I see on the corner and the connection to the community. Stephen is an artist.
Right,
Stephen was contracted by the city to do a job. He was given a lot of power to do that job.
and that's what he used as the
Yeah, that's what
artist.
he did, right. But where was the connection with the community? So all I'm asking is, when you get ready, you're gonna have one at the Cultural Center, because this is an art project. You're gonna have it down there at the Cultural Center
At the Sponge
for,
Docks.
for the community. for
A
everybody.
lecture,
And
oh, the
that's-
lecture.
It's really just a presentation of him talking about his two installations. It's not him saying, okay, I'm going to change anything. He's going to explain his interpretation of the Sponge Docks one and the one on MLK, and his vision and why he used what he used. I don't even think he knows.
Right, it's
He
his
doesn't-
presentation.
yes,
It's
his
not ours, yeah.
presentation. It's not,
So
you
can
know.
can he bring this, can I request him to do the same thing he's doing there?
You can contact him
The academy.
personally.
You can.
No, it should be done by this board, because that
No,
was done,
no.
But
this
we're
was
not-
set up by.
We're not doing another,
another
a project.
presentation.
We're not doing another project. The project is already completed.
Yeah, I'm just asking, you saying, he's gonna be explaining everything about this at the Cultural Center.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So the same thing that he's doing at the Cultural Center, can you have another one scheduled at Union Academy, so it's right there in connection with the community? A lot of the people in the community is not gonna go to the Cultural Center.
Why? It's just right down the street.
It's a 5-minute walk.
I guess you're missing my point, because I'm trying to tie in the community. The community is they're working within the community.
Right, but-
And this supposed to be depicting history. If he's saying
it's
people
not.
riding a bike.
It's not, Katie, it's
But he's
not
saying people
depicting
art.
history.
He's
Right.
asking,
But
he's
they
saying
have-
people are
right,
asking to
right.
be put on to be put there.
No,
So
they-
pe-
it's,
So
they
how do they
can't.
get it done? Where do they go to get their
The
family
only
picture
thing I
put
can
on there?
suggest is do a fundraiser and do your own project.
Okay,
I mean, this is, as Diane said, this is kind of done, you know?
Okay.
It's been in the works for 4 years, and, you know, these were all done by Stephen. They were they were researched by Stephen, found by Stephen,
ought done by
put it on
Stephen.
the sculpture by Stephen.
Stephen.
We had, other than perhaps
Signed by Stephen.
Right.
By
The only thing one I did with him was I took him over to Rose Cemetery one day. We just drove over together. And that was my only contribution to any of the images he had.
Okay,
Because
I
I
think you
think he had
answered
a
all my
picture of one of
questions.
the headstones.
I think you've answered all my questions. Thank you.
Okay.
It's an
Okay.
art project. That's what I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Right.
This is an art project, nothing to do with history. It's an
Right.
art project. Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay.
Excuse me, before you go on to other topics, is it possible to make a comment about this rather than sit through your entire meeting?
Well,
It's really
Better
public
have the
comments are at the end.
yeah, usually they're at the end.
You only have one person here.
I know, well,
Let her have the microphone.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
What, 3 minutes?
Oh, I think you need to hear what I have to say.
Okay.
And by the way, I attended, I thought the project was great, very happy as part of the selection committee. Stephen's a wonderful person to talk to, and he did talk to a bunch of community members too. I know he did, because I've talked to him a bunch, just to let you know. But the only problem I saw with that was there was a problem with the sign there. And
That's on the agenda.
it's later on the agenda,
Right now,
Yeah, right now.
the sign at that project?
Yes.
that's part of the discussion I was
He
trying to
he
get
did that
to.
himself without showing it to anybody. It was not approved.
Yes.
That's the
That's right.
problem.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay, I will comment on that.
Moving right along. Okay, I believe if you look in your handouts, there is a printout of the
This just-
revised signage, and it's just a piece of white paper that says Sponge Dock Site at the top. So if you want to take a minute or two to just read it through. I know somebody has a comment.
And just to comment on this, I had asked Stephen Oliver, the artist, to, give his interpretation of his description for each of the different sites. And so he did that, and then I believe.
I edited
Joan
it.
Joan edited it, and I think you also ran it by Lynn? Or-
Yes, Lynn
Yeah,
Whitelaw
Lynn
took a look
Whitelaw.
at it. He's,
So this is the current draft. This is
Right.
not the final. So input is, and so it's
Right.
good for Tina to look at it too.
right, does everyone know who Lynn Whitelaw is, by the way? Lynn was the first director of the Lipa Ratner Museum, and his field of expertise is art and local art history. He's given presentations, for many years about the history of art in Tarpon Springs.
Okay.
And he's, that's his kind of specialty.
He's done.
And he was also on the selection panel, so I felt he would be a good person to approach to, edit for fact. In fact, he added the comment, and I think it's a very important one, about Billy the Kid Emerson. So,
May I?
you may.
Okay. I'm married to an English teacher. She would never forgive me if I allowed this sentence to pass.
Yes, I know which one you're talking about.
Even local musicians, particularly William Billy the Kid Emerson, helped introduce black music to audiences popularized by the likes of Elvis Presley. The audiences were not popularized. The music was popularized. That needs to be reworded.
Well, oh,
One well, one of the things people can do is, send their edits, to me via an email.
Okay.
Well, I can send this to you. email it to you. In fact, didn't we? I think this was one of the things that we emailed.
It was one of the backup pieces, yes.
Yes. So if you would go ahead and give me your edits and just email them to me, then we could compile them, and that way we can come up with another draft.
Sure, no problem.
Perfect.
Especially,
Have
Was that yours, too?
have the English teacher look at it.
Mine was the Afro-Bahamian spongers collaborated with the Greeks, some even becoming fluent in the Greek language, which helped build a community for themselves. That just doesn't sound right to me.
well, as
which
I said, I
helps
think to
build.
save time, we'll just
Yeah,
have you all look at it and email it back to
sounds
Diane.
good.
Tina?
Yes.
We could just have Tina
I
write
don't
it.
have as much to comment about, obviously, because I was going to be a grammar cop. But there are grammatical issues in this also.
Oh, yeah.
But the big one that I can see now is, all right, let's go back, guys, to, all right, well, first of all, I do want to say, at that event the other day, I did talk with David Archie for quite a while afterwards, who also had problems with the landscaping and the safety around
Right.
there. I just want you to know that he is concerned also. And also, he was also concerned with the identification of CAPS, because the sign outside doesn't say CAPS, it says Union Academy. And he feels that that institution is still Union Academy, not just CAPS, and he wants
Okay.
everyone to know that. And you can talk to him about it, but.
That's fine. Well, if you want to make,
Okay, I will, but let's also talk on both of these, his sign and this sign, the Afro-Bahamian community. Okay, I spent the morning, because I just love to spend my morning going through the 1910 census, counting the number of Bahamians in Tarpon Springs in 1910. There were 127, of which 45 were white and 82 were black or mulatto as classification. So you can't, like on that sign that he did, talk about just the Bahamian community. There were black and white and mixed Bahamians all over the place. Also, probably a majority of the black spongers were not Bahamian. They were African Americans from the South that worked in the industry. So, and you're characterizing them all as Afro-Bahamians. I challenge everyone on this committee to go and read the census, because most of the Bahamians went back to Key West after the Greeks really kind of dominated the industry. Some stayed, and they are the ancestors of the people in the town today. But it was still African American and Bahamian. So you can't just characterize them as Afro-Bahamian.
well, I think
This
when
is
we were working on this project originally, the term Afro-Bahamian was provided by a woman who has extensive background in, what's the
Yeah,
word I'm looking for?
All right, look.
Just a
ask her.
minute, Tina. But this was concerning basically the group in the 1880s.
Yeah, 1880s and 1890s, not
Right.
1910.
They were still African American and Afro-Bahamian. Because Cheney recruited African Americans to work in the industry too.
Right, but that's later, that was
Later.
1905.
No.
No?
Back
In the
then, too.
1880s?
Back then too. A lot of the Bahamians that were up at that point were actually working out of Key West but stopped in that area and were washing and processing their sponges. They weren't necessarily working out of Tarpon Springs, but they were working near Tarpon Springs on the other side of the river at Anclote, and that's where all those crawls were that you see. You know, so, but the people from Tarpon that were working in the industry were African American, and the Afro-Bahamians that came here, and the Anglo-Americans, and the white Bahamians.
Okay,
So look at the census and get the numbers from her and get where she's getting that stuff from.
okay.
Because-
Well, I'd like
because-
to, but she's extremely ill.
Okay, but as far as I know, okay, then all of you need to read all of the censuses and all of the documentation that I
Okay.
have read.
Will
So-
you- will
Could
you
you
also send your edits?
suggest a different way of describing the sponges in a few words then?
1880s and 1890s.
For this purpose?
Yes.
It's acknowledgement and celebration of the of the African American and Afro-Bahamian spongers.
Tina, could you also send your edits to this if I
Sure.
email it to you?
Yeah, yeah. But you have to be careful because the majority of the people in the community, as far as I can tell, looking at census records and talking to people and interviewing people, especially recently last year in the Union Academy, their background is more Southern African American than Afro-Bahamian. And their culture is too. And that's a different thing.
No, I appreciate that. It's important to have the signage accurate.
Yes, you are a government entity.
Yes.
And so it must be accurate. You know,
Right.
it can't be just a speculation.
Right.
You know.
No, I agree.
That's why you have to go back to the sources. But I do want to say, I also think there's a middle ground when you were discussing the sign up there, and I think Katie's right. It could use some more, a sign with an explanation out there to people. This is an art installation, and there could be something in, and say, go inside the center and see, and then maybe have signage with an explanation of who those people were and stuff like that. I think that would be important too. Anyway.
One of the things we do on our signs, if you look at our other installations, is we do have the logo of the Public Art Committee and also the City of Tarpon Springs, and then, so that can also be, that will indicate.
Right, yeah.
We'll mark it clearly that it is an art installation.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Hey, wait a minute, you have to sit out the rest of the meeting.
Here's something.
I only have one.
Thank you for your input.
Thanks, Tina.
Can I make a comment on what she just said? I wanted her to hear what I had to say, but she walked out. When she depicted the African American, the Bahamian American, the Bahamian sponger, Afro-Bahamian. My father is Bahamian, full-blooded. He didn't call himself African Bahamian. He called himself a Bahamian because they're a British colony. My mother was the daughter of her parents was slaves. So they were brought from Africa as slaves. So when we were born here, we became African Americans. So I'm an African American because my mother side of the family was a slave. My father was full Bahamian. If I would have lived with him, I would have been Bahamian, not Afro-Bahamian. So it's a difference there.
Right, the thing is that, the signage is somewhat limiting. A lot of these details can be put, expanded upon. Just inserting African American should not be a problem. But once we get into all of this, actually, the suggestion for the term came from two members of the selection panel. One of them was the former director of the LIPA Ratner, who was, I'm getting senile. What do you call somebody who studies like different kind of cultures and civilizations?
Anthropologist.
Anthropologist, thank you. I'm losing it. And the other was Milton Smith, who's, again, whose background was, what he considered an Afro-Bahamian. So,
We're not historians. We rely on professionals and
Right.
experts in the field to,
right. Again, we just keep going back to the fact that this is art.
Yeah.
And we're doing the best we can with what we've got. But, before you know it, we're going to be writing a history textbook. It just keeps growing and growing and growing, and that might actually be the ultimate goal of this.
Can I say
Sure.
something? That was my purpose in asking Dr. Bukavalis for a short phrase to describe the spongers, because I was hoping that she would be able to come up with something that was not offensive to anyone, because it is not our intent or design to be offensive. It is our intent and design to be as accurate as we possibly can. And with the understanding that this is going to be on a sign that has the city logo on it, and it has the Tarpon Springs Public Art Committee logo on it, and that is going to represent us, for many, many years in the public's eye, and it's important that it be right and not loosely worded. You know, that's all. You know, there's no deeper intent than that. It's just for us to be correct and to be accurate.
Right, so I think, you know, the inclusion of just adding that extra thing to be
Right.
accurate is not a big deal.
No,
right?
no, it's
And
fine.
if anyone,
It's fine.
if anyone is incredibly attentive to accuracy, it is Tina.
But you know what? You know, Tina, after all, you're exactly right, Biba. Tina this is her field.
Yeah.
You know, with a heavy emphasis on Tarpon Springs, you know. But I dabble in history, it's kind of an interest of mine. I don't pretend to be a historian. So, you know, we're getting into an area which is getting kind of, you know, muddied by this interplay of history and art. So, you know, as Graham said, oh, sorry, Dawn. As Graham said, we try to be as accurate as possible, but again, we're not historians. I don't think, you know, we're here because we all have an expertise in art. Does anybody have a PhD in history here? No. So, I think I took a course once. Dawn?
So I was just wanting to clarify too, that we're not trying to present the entire history of sponging in Tarpon Springs on a placard for this project. This project is an art project celebrating Black history in Tarpon Springs. So I think that it's important to note that we want to, the information that we have on there should be pointedly in that area, not, we want to tell the whole history of,
No.
Right.
you know, how the sponge industry was started and evolved throughout, you know, the 1900s. That's not really the point of the sign there either. It's to introduce this art installation with an overview, and then again,
Right.
if people are interested, then give them something that they can go to
Yeah.
later.
Right, and again, I'm just going to reiterate again, and you all can do this, not necessarily just Katie, but I guess because she's a newer member. But if you went back and look at all the proposals we got, this was the only one that used any specific images, the only one. Everything else had these abstract figures, right, Diane? They were all very abstract. There was one where you had basically metal cutouts of a lot of people, I think, holding up, you know, some kind of, I forget what it was, you know, like some kind of unifying
Yeah.
piece. It didn't have any representation of anyone other, you know, other than these human cutouts.
Yeah.
And from my experience, sometimes that's better.
Well, that's kind of what it's turning into, you
Because,
know.
trust me, only because I had the same experience in my own community, is you didn't add me, you didn't talk to me, and so sometimes not having anybody is better.
I think the confusion came in as to this being an art project versus a history project.
Right, that's what I'm
Which
saying.
people was under the assumption that this was supposed to be a historical project.
No, it just
saying it
uses
wasn't.
history
Okay.
as a.
It's a sculpture.
Yeah, it's a sculpture that uses history as, you know, inspiration.
Inspiration, yeah.
Right, and if you want to find those old, you know, all of those alternate proposals and show them to people, because it could have been, this is what it could have been.
Right.
You know, we
I'm not
actually,
interested
the
in the
proposal
proposal
from
part,
Spain was extremely abstract, as I recall. But anyway, let's moving on here.
But
I think-
just one more thing, if, you know, so you all have the copy of this draft, so if you have changes to it, please email it to me before the next meeting, okay?
Oh, you'll get it this week.
Okay,
Yeah, if you can get it by the end of the week.
I'm just gonna trust Tina on that.
yeah, while it's fresh in your mind,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other comments about this project?
Nope.
Thank you, God. Okay.
No, I have another comment. I'm looking forward to the next unveiling. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend his
me neither.
explanatory thing, and I hope that it will be recorded so that I can at least listen to it.
Diane?
Yeah, I was hoping
you-
it was gonna be recorded as well for future inclusion.
Yeah,
We'll try,
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there, you want me to?
sure. I mean, we'll coordinate it.
set me in a place, and I'm happy to record it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
They'll
we
be
can.
sending
Thank you
out
so much.
something with this date and time for this?
Oh, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes, for
okay.
sure.
Okay. Dawn, over to you. The QR codes?
Yes, I met with Diane on Monday, and we discussed kind of the parameters that we needed to look at as far as how it needed to be set up, how any accounts needed to be set up, how it needed to be paid for, all that kind of stuff. So Diane signed up for what was supposed to be, what we thought was going to be like a recorded introduction to it, but it turns out that she was able to speak directly to the guy. So she has the additional information for what she learned in that discussion.
Okay, Diane?
So you have in your packet just a sample of what the Pixel Stick looks like. It's basically just like a small, what would you call, like a plate of information that would be put on the piece of art. And then it could be customized a little bit, with the logos and stuff like that. But the thing that I talked to the gentleman who owns the business, and the only drawback, I'll give you the pros and the cons. Basically, it's like in order for this to work, you have got to download an app. So you have to download an app on your phone in order for it to be effective. It's basically a QR code kind of driven. Instead of a QR code, it's got a P on it. So when you go to their website, and like I downloaded the app, and I think Dawn did too, and we
Yeah,
kind of looked
it
at
took
it.
like 2 seconds.
And so you
Quick.
go to this map, and then you look at Pinellas County, and you see a bunch of Ps down in St. Pete, because the Shine Festival is using it exclusively. But, if you look at Tampa Bay area, there's not a whole lot, which kind of concerned me a little bit, because, Tampa has so much public art. And so basically I said to him, it's like, well, it seems to me like all I have to do is create a bunch of landing pages on my website and put a QR code to that particular landing page with the descriptions of what we want on it. So why do I need Pixel Sticks? Basically.
Good point.
And he said, well, you get the map, and, we'll do this and that for you and everything. So, I mean, it's $60 for each of these. So we could basically get 10 of these and slap them on there and everything. But the thing is, it's not even like you're in the vicinity and it comes up. No, you have to, actually physically have the app on your phone, and, okay, I'm in Tarpon Springs today, let me see what public art is here. So it would bring up the map of Tarpon Springs, and it would show our Ps, for where we choose to put them. And, but how many people are going to do that? Nobody. I mean, I don't think it's going to be effective, and I appreciate that Dawn did all the research and everything, but I just feel like there's an easier way for us to do it with, Tarpon Arts already has public art on the website, so what we could do is create landing pages, and then we could put as much text and as much, things, that we want on the page, and then start, just really advertising it, and then do like a little map
There you go.
with, we'll do like a map of where all the public art is, and then put a little individual QR code with the link to that particular page. So when people are walking through Tarpon Springs, they can find these things easier. Because, I think people are more and more today, because of all the cybersecurity and everything going on, they're reluctant to download new apps too, so. And then, like Katie said, there's a lot of people that don't even know how to use them or whatever. So, I don't know, I just felt like it'd just be easier for us to kind of do it internally. And so, I just would need some help getting descriptions and different things like that. And, we can test it out,
I'd see homework assignments in your future.
Well, there's another option as well that I had looked at that is free, and it's through Google Maps, and you can create a My Map. And because I think originally this whole thing started off with a map, not really a website, but a map, being able to show, here's all the art stuff in Tarpon Springs, and making a walking map to go to the stuff. So having stuff on a website is great, but it doesn't really get us to what we had talked about originally. And if we don't, if we're shifting, that's fine. I just wanted to point out that there's not a map included in that option. But I could look into further the Google Maps and see, it's free. It just requires a lot of heavy lifting, but if we're gonna be doing web pages anyway, it's probably the same amount of stuff.
Yeah.
Gordon, Graham?
I think it's a great idea, Diane, to just, go with it and do it ourselves. There's a couple of things. First of all, the map as an add-on would be absolutely wonderful, right? To have that and to be able to go, to the map and from the map to various places and have a walking tour. That would be great. The thing that I'm wondering, though, is the QR codes that we would use. We'd create them ourselves, right? And have them printed on something, which would then be some sort of thing which would be attached to another thing. And, I was, how much is it going to cost to have a plate with a QR, that's kind of like this thing that you showed us, that is like attached to a wall next to a piece or a stake in the ground or, bolted to the base of the thing or whatever. I mean, how are we going to do that? Did you go through that in your mind or?
Not yet. I needed something that could not be altered,
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's where I'm
Yeah.
going with this. It's got to be something, really solid, like this thing that they've come up with.
Right.
Plaque on a stick.
Yeah, there's such a thing as like laser etched metal business cards and stuff like that. So if you want me to, I could look at pricing for that. And also keep in mind, whether it's the Pixel Sticks code or a QR code, people are gonna have to get close enough to be able to scan it with their phone. So,
But if we put it out on social media with a link to the website, and say, you can download this map, and so I think if it's publicized, like we have exploretarponsprings.com, we have tarponarts.org, we have social media, Instagram and Facebook on both of those. I mean, the other thing that internally, which is a plus, is that we have analytics that we can track. If it's on another site, we're not gonna get any analytics to see how many
Right.
people looked at it and things. So, I mean, I think we'd have to do some research on some things that could not be altered, because I think that was, way back when IT's concern is that, if we had like a metal plate and then somebody were to put a sticker over it, that's like taking you to a bad site. I mean, we're not policing these public art, sculptures and things to see, hey, today, everybody take a week, go out and make sure that all the QR codes aren't, altered, So I think we've got to come up with a way to.
right, well, that's
maybe
why
not
the
put it
map,
on there.
right, that's why the map was the better option, because if you were near one and you had your map, whatever map thing we chose, you wouldn't have to use a QR code, they would be marked on a map, and you just,
Yeah, I'm just trying to think now, because I know St. Pete, with all those murals that they have, I think it's also done on a map, that you can walk a map. I'll actually look in, because I want to do that still, and I'll actually test it out and see what they do.
yeah.
So let me look into it a little bit more with, like, internally to see what we could do.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back and let you know what I found out. But, I mean, I just, in talking to that gentleman, I thought to myself, it's like, well, it sounds to me like I'm giving you money, but, I don't see the advantage of something that we can't do ourselves. I think that's why a lot of artists use it, and maybe the Shine Festival uses it so much, because it's a temporary thing. The Shine Festival changes every year, kind of thing. And so they contract with this company to go and slap those on all of their murals, so because people are coming specifically to see that whole festival and everything. And some artists use it because a lot of times they don't have their own website or the technology to do it. Like the Icaria, Cecilia, she uses it, she uses Pixel Sticks, for her art. But, you know, she's definitely a higher level artist too. I mean, she has stuff all over the country, so, you know, it kind of depends, I guess, on the usage. But that's kind of what I found out, and, you know, like I said, Don and I talked about it, and so it's
Right.
kind of like still a work in progress, but I think it's doable.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Great.
how about this? You do your finding out stuff. I'll go revisit the things that I looked at from the point of view of the map. Maybe we could do it all without QR codes, and it could just be our
Right.
map. And if it's through Google Maps or whatever, but I'll go and revisit the options that I had researched before, and some of them that I didn't present might be better options, you know, after going through, you know,
Right.
these discussions. So I'll come back, next meeting with more information on that as well. Maybe we can compare and contrast.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Diane, in any event, I'd thank you for all of the hard work you've put into this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really great, thank you.
Yeah, it's much easier for us to just pick holes in it. You know.
That's okay. My job is to find one that looks good with holes, like Swiss cheese.
Right.
Still delicious.
Right.
Oh, my favorite.
Okay, the Dorset Park mural. Diane, you want to kick this off? And maybe Nick
I
has some-
just, well, actually,
Nick?
Nick is the point person on it, but what you have in your packet is the mural of, and we've got it a little bit larger for you to see, and then there's like a little bio on Nolan Anderson, who is the artist, and then also he has a invoice in here of his cost, and this is just for the image. Okay, now keep in mind that we are missing some information, like, for instance, I've talked to Nick about, we need to have the measurements of the actual wall that it's going to go on, and also, we've got to actually have a picture of where it is, because I've got to get in touch with the company that will adhere it to the wall and get a quote from them. So the cost to the Public Art Committee would not just be the art from the artist, but also, you know, what it would cost to install it on the wall, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with Diane, and I was around for the unveiling of the Christopher Still mural applique on the side of the Macris Building, AKA the Chamber of Commerce, okay? And that went up in like a day and a half. But we were working on something called an artist alley, and I was interested in using the applique project process for that. And I contacted Speed Pro, the company that did it, and he came up, and I had quite a long meeting with him at the library. And Bebe, you'll appreciate this. He told me that the process involves photographing an actual piece of art, and they have a special photographer who does a process for taking the photograph. Now, I don't know whether they can use the digital images that Mr. Anderson submitted. That's something we'd have to find out. But it's got very unusual standards in the image that they need. And, you know, plus there's the production of the applique itself. And I think we're looking at maybe another 5,000.
I'm not sure, I'd have to, that's why it's important to get you know, the dimensions of the wall of where it would be put and everything, because the Speed Pro would have to come out and kind of see the site, see the condition of the wall, and also, you know, Mr. Anderson said that he can provide a very high res, you know, TIFF, you know, kind of thing. So I'll have to ask Speed Pro if they can do it directly from the image, or, you know, because I think what they did is, I think with the Chris Still, they actually took a picture of the original art, you know, kind of thing.
Right,
So
they-
that's probably what he did, but this is
Right.
the original art, so we may be able to bypass that step. I'm not sure, I'd have to ask.
I would think so, because if you've got, this looks like vector art, which means you can enlarge it infinitely without losing quality.
Right.
If you have an original piece of artwork that you're trying to blow up, that takes some special photography, super high res, so you can, enlarge it and not lose quality. So it's my guess from dealing with a lot of digital imagery that this is probably easier,
Right.
yeah.
Well, again, this is something that we have to get more information about.
Yeah.
And Diane, you're right about getting the wall measurement, because I seem to recall also that Speed Pro charges by the square foot.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He said.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how they price
There's
it.
also his email in here from Mr. Anderson saying that he has the actual design, will be in line with the mock-up, but the high-resolution illustration, and he tells what program he's using and delivered, and so.
In your discussions with him, has he used this applique process before, and?
I don't think so.
Has he used this specific company, Speed Pro, or that's on us to find a way to get it on the building?
It's for us to get it on the building. He's providing the art.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's, as I said, we're sort of harking
So
back
he's
to
not
the
painting the
Christopher
mural?
Still.
No, he's not painting it, and one of the reasons that we decided to go this route with the applique onto the building is because there is a chance that the Dorset Park building may be renovated and changed, in the next couple of
So would
years.
the applique be removable then?
So no, it would have to,
be
if it was,
reproduced.
Just go on.
we'd just have to redo it.
To have it redone?
But it's not like somebody's out there, an artist is not painting it and then,
Well, right, but
having.
if it's gonna
They
cost,
reprint the applique, but.
that many
But at least
thousands
you
of
have the
dollars.
art already, and you
Right.
could reproduce it, kind of thing.
That's
so.
the other thing we'd have to find out, would be the cost of reproducing it once it's processed.
May I interject?
First and then, okay.
Yeah. I have a recollection, right or wrong, that we talked about having it on a panel originally that could be removed from the building should the building be renovated, that it would
I
be
do
firmly,
remember that.
firmly attached to the building, but could be removed by Public Works if necessary. Did that go by the wayside, or?
That was my understanding.
Okay,
Right,
Yeah, I had forgotten about that,
I'd
but,
forgotten about that.
yeah, thank you, Graham.
okay.
Katie?
Because
You're
otherwise it
next.
wouldn't make sense to spend, $5,000-6,000.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Right.
gonna be.
So when are the renovations?
Excuse me, Katie has the floor next.
Sorry.
I thought he was gonna give something that, once the building was torn down, he would give you a thumb drive or some kind of, something that you can recreate this without having to go through a lot of work. He
Well,
was
that's
gonna-
why the idea of
gonna be giving
putting it
us
on a
something.
panel.
He'd be
You could
giving us
take
the image, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you
so-
could just remove the panel or series of panels, let them tear down the building, rebuild it, and then reattach the panel.
Right.
So that would save quite a bit of money.
Thousands.
Yeah, Sonia?
So just refresh my memory. So we're gonna go this route because we don't know when the building's gonna be torn down. So this
Right.
is just to have something there for now.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, so we still need a measurement, though,
right.
because if it's gonna be put on a panel that's removable, then we still need to,
I'll go out
have
and
the
get
size.
I'll go out and get a measurement of the wall.
Okay.
And then perhaps the committee, not our committee, but the Dorset Park Committee will decide, the actual dimensions of that panel.
Good idea. right.
That will go onto that wall, but I'll go take picture of the wall and get measurements of that wall,
Because in order to get a quote, I'm gonna need to have all that information for Speed Pro,
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
Right.
But, we would need, how big of a panel is envisioned there.
Right.
And that's,
You know, you plan on having this on April 27th, right?
That's why we have to get it done quick.
Let's hope we can do it. So there's a lot of moving parts to this.
Okay.
Well, I had questions on the art. Are we gonna get are we gonna get you speak on the art?
Does anyone have any comments about the artwork, or I think we pretty much discussed it last meeting, which,
Yeah, we talked
you were
about it,
here.
and we pretty much liked it, I think.
Yeah, there,
Yeah, we did, but I thought.
had asked
can
about
I
it- oh, I'm
say
sorry, go
something? I thought we questioned this under the Rudy.
Right,
What is
right.
this? Because I still can't figure out what that is.
Yeah, and somebody said that there's more to the image there that we couldn't see.
And
Yeah,
I
like
asked
the,
the artist, and this is the actual art. There's no
Okay.
change to this art whatsoever.
Yeah, it looks pretty much the same. I guess when we were considering this before, I thought it was gonna be painted. I mean, his thing says that he paints. Maybe I missed where it was gonna be an applied printout.
I thought because of the type of art that he has to put on that building to be on a panel to be removed, that it was being something done digital. So he can create it on a thumb drive or whatever you do in internal, in IT to get it done, artificial intelligence. But my thought on this, because I wasn't here last month, but I did listen to the meeting on YouTube. My concerns about this piece of art is that Coach Rudy, need to be moved down below the border, and maybe the fonts are changed to be a little more pretty or something. I don't know what you would use on an art term. I would like to ask that the family add the to and from years that Rudy actually served under this park. They should have something to show the years that he served from 73 to 2020, whenever he passed away on that. The ball player in the middle, his face need to be adjusted, just like the lady, the artist fixed her face, but he didn't do anything with the middle and the two other people. The background, I would like to recommend that it be like a park instead of color.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, all of those are like the artist's purview. I think the at years of service, that's something to go on a plaque, not necessarily on the artwork. You know, as far as the artwork, it's either approved or not approved, and you can ask for changes, but I don't know
This need to be
any-
changed.
This
anything about
is
the
what was
artist.
given to us by the committee.
Right, I
As
have
the
it
one
from
that
last
they
lesson.
selected.
Yeah.
So if
I'm
you.
on that committee.
Okay, well then,
Yeah.
you go back to your committee and then just say, these are the things I'd like to see changed. And then we'd have to wait until the next meeting to get it approved. And keep in mind that once the Public Art Committee approves it, then it's got to be approved by the Board of Commissioners too. So we're kind of like at you know, if we want it in there by April, we really need to, you know, I would say, we've got to get what the committee wants, you know, and a final. So you guys are working with the artist, not us, you know, kind of thing, because he just sent this to me, but I was considering that this was the final thing that you all had chosen, so.
Now, he had
Spoke to Nancy,
stated,
and some things was gonna be enhanced, but when I talked to Nancy, she was gonna get some things enhanced, but nothing,
Nothing
this
has
haven't
changed?
been, nothing's changed.
This is all we've gotten.
Well, can
the
you,
artist had stated to me that, that what he provides in that thumb driver, there he's gonna, the format he brings it to us is gonna be highly detailed. And this looks like the same thing we looked at a
Yeah.
month or two ago.
It's exactly
here.
the same. I have it from
Well,
last month.
it's different aspect ratio, but it's essentially the same, yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
emailed
new one is
him.
actually
But he said
distorted.
that there would be detail, because I asked him, you know, about that and all.
Well, I don't think we can approve something that we don't see.
well, it sounds like it's not finished from what you're
Yeah,
saying.
that's the one we got last month.
All right, well, then we'll just gotta have to we'll just have to table it until you give us a final, you know, art.
Right. But yeah, I did make, you know, I highlighted Sonia's comment about those black smears under Rudy. There's no reason. You know, the other question I had, you know, I did go to his
I'm just saying that
website.
That's gonna go on the plaque.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I-
that's informational, that should go on the signage that's next to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I did go on his website, and I guess another question I have is this a painting, or is this?
This is digital art,
Yeah, it's digital art.
So you can be able to fix it.
So,
yeah.
but, you know, I have the original one, and, you know, as Graham pointed out, and it's pretty obviously, if you look at the one that we looked at last month, everything's distorted. You know, look at the baseball. And the other one, it was round, now it's, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Well, and
that's a printing.
When I printed
function.
the image that he sent, it was like this big.
Yeah.
Oy.
I
that's
would
why.
Oh,
say-
okay.
Laura helped me print
So it's a
it.
print issue.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
print issue.
yeah, that's a printing issue.
Because when I printed it for everyone, it was
Very low
smaller
res,
than a
yeah.
playing card.
Okay.
It was like that big.
I did email him today, and I said, because he sent me, when he sent this image, he said that, the end product would be very detailed. I says, well, you have to send the final detailed
Right.
image for the Public Art Committee to see, kind of thing. It's like, we don't want to see just like your interpretation, it's got to be the final form, kind of thing. So, Katie, if you can please, get that to be, for him to understand that, when you guys do have a finished product, he's got to have all the details in it, because I don't want to go to the Board of Commissioners and say, well, this is kind of like what they're going to do,
Yeah, this is kind of, sort of, what a.
No,
Right.
they're-
Will I get in trouble if I talk to the artist?
No,
No.
no.
you're-
Well, that's-
yeah.
Just
'cause
don't
you-
talk to any
it's
of
ba-
us.
Can't talk to us.
I know the Sunshine Law, don't
Yeah,
I?
Yeah, we can
Right.
talk to each other about anything except
But it's
Pack
okay for me.
business,
Yeah,
so-
yeah, exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
okay, I didn't know I could do that.
I
Okay.
did
Yeah.
want to say, I want to amend my statement. This kind of stuff, if you guys, as a committee, talk to the artist about incorporating that into the artwork, that's, up to the artist and the committee, your committee. And I'm just saying, just in general, that kind of thing is, just
'Cause you're gonna
put
have
it
a
on
plaque,
there.
so maybe it's not necessary.
Yeah, but if you
It's
wanted
out
the artist to, if you wanted to say, hey, can you incorporate these years in there some kind of artsy way, then
Family might
that's
not want
between
it,
the
so-
company and
Like-
the committee and the
Like,
artist.
For instance, in the Riverside Field project, there was a general feeling that it would be nice to have the name of the football team somehow incorporated into one of the images. And the artist agreed and did that,
Right.
and that was fine.
Right.
But
But if he said,
but
no, I
how
don't really
he
think
inc-
so,
How he included it was
Right.
up to him, you know?
yeah.
We didn't say, here, you've got to put this in italic at 45 degrees going across this part of the image. We said,
Right.
can you just include the name of the football team somehow?
right. Yeah, well, and when she mentioned that, I was like, oh, no, that goes on the sign. And then I started thinking, well, if you want to talk to the artist about incorporating it, that's completely,
Right.
outside of our
Right, but
thing.
again.
So I kind of misspoke.
Right,
little
but
bit
again, we have to be careful we don't blur the line between art and history,
Right.
okay? This was what was given to us by the committee as an art piece.
Right.
So,
Yeah, we
anyway,
didn't
anybody
decide
think you had
on
a
the
comment?
design.
If you,
Yeah, I do. So going back to whether this was gonna be painted or not painted, and I understand, that we were trying to come up with a solution, so that we could reinstall, but if it's gonna be on a panel, then why could he not paint it, and instead of us then paying the extra to get the applique process, $2,500 for one digital art, when the other mural project is getting paid $4,000 for an entire building, there seems like a bit of a discrepancy there to me.
yeah,
Yeah, it makes sense too.
it's an awful lot of money.
I mean, the other artist is doing four sides of the entire building for $4,000, and he wants $2,500 just to create the digital portion and not even paint it. And that means we're gonna have to pay again for the applique process, which is gonna be another several $1,000s for a piece of art that, isn't,
Yeah, it's a digital,
so.
yes, no material costs
There's no
either.
material costs, it seems like there's a big margin of, a difference between,
But if he's a digital artist, maybe he doesn't do physical.
Well, I
painting.
was-
Well, his
reading
resume
his-
says he does.
Yeah, I was reading his biography, and it said that he paints in oils and
Right, acrylics,
big
yeah.
brushstrokes and loose brushstrokes on textured canvas surfaces. I mean, that sounds really cool. I thought that this was just kind of a rendering of what he was gonna paint,
Right,
that's what I thought.
but
yeah, when I started looking at his work a lot more closely, you know, it kind of became obvious that this was
And did
a
we
digital.
approve that fee?
Keep in mind, if
Or
he
did we
paints
put out-
this
No, we
on a, if he paints this on a canvas at his studio, then he does not have to have the insurance requirements that the
Right.
city requires.
Oh.
If he paints it on city property, then he has to have all that insurance, okay?
So he could paint it
So-
on the panels.
At
At his
at
studio, not have to pay for any of that, and then we could install it,
So
deinstall
Right.
it,
I
blah, blah,
guess you're
blah.
gonna have to.
Well, if he does this as a
If-
digital image, and let's put aside the fee for a bit, he also would not need insurance, because he's gonna be
Right.
doing it on his own
Right,
computer.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, I guess we would have to know what the applique process costs, you know,
Which is
yeah,
what-
to get the
which is what
total.
we're at, yeah, I know where that's the stage that we're at, you
Right.
know, but it seems like, again, the other, you know, is costing,
Well, this is the first I've heard that it's not a final image, you know, so Katie, if you're gonna, you know, keep in mind, our next meeting is March 13th, so we've got to have a final approved,
For
you know,
March
art,
13th.
piece of art by, that your committee has said, this is exactly what we
At the
want,
invoice, we did
and
not
then
approve
determining
the
whether he's
fee.
going to give us a digital image, and then we got to find out more costs, or if he can paint it on a panel in his studio.
Yeah.
I thought the digital image was needed because the building might be torn down and renovated. And if you had it
Right.
digital, then you can recreate it
Yes.
to the measurements of whatever new building is coming.
That's correct, that's correct.
Right, but once,
Except
if we,
it's
if
the
we use
application.
Speed, right, but if we use Speed Pro, they will make a digital image of it, if we're gonna go with the
Yeah,
with the
if it's
applicant.
painted.
Right, so
I
we'd
mean-
have something on record. But the other thing too is, Diane, correct me if I'm wrong, we just got these materials for him. Did we never approved his fee, did we, at the
No,
last meeting?
no,
Right.
that's the first we've seen the fee.
Right,
Isn't that, is that us or is that the committee?
That's the
No,
committee.
Yeah,
no, it's gotta be,
Our
it's
committee or
gotta be
their committee?
voted on. So,
the
Diane?
Public Art Committee has to vote whether they will accept this fee or not, and the
Right.
artwork. you
Right,
know.
Oh,
that's,
okay.
that's where I'm going here. Okay,
So-
let's take it one at a time. Let's start with the artwork. Do I have a motion to approve?
well, if this is not the art.
But she's saying that this isn't the final art.
Final art, so
No.
we can't.
I'm a Robert's Rules fanatic.
Okay,
Okay. What you have to do is, you have to have a motion to approve and a second, then a discussion.
okay,
And if we decide that this is not the final finale, everybody just votes no.
okay.
You cannot
Gotcha.
make a negative motion.
I got you.
And I'm a pill about it, sorry.
I'm not saying that, I thought we were just tabling it, that's, I thought Diane
However,
said to table it, that's what I-
however, you
that's
can
what I
make,
said.
you can make a motion, and if it fails to achieve a second, then it dies on the vine as is.
Right, no, I thought we were tabling it, because that's what I thought, Dan,
Okay.
and until next time, that's what I thought.
All right, can I have a motion to approve? Okay, we can't even get a motion to approve. Okay, so I guess the only alternative is my advisor here to my left suggested we'll have to table it until the March meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so we're tabling it to date certain, March 13th.
I would just like to convey to the committee who's dealing with the artist, his art in this description sounds really awesome. I think it would be great. I would love to see it, rather than a digital, if we could do that, so. Just
Okay,
in
and I
your
think-
discussions with them.
Right, I think we're also going to have to table approval of the fee until we approve, see the final art piece. Because, as Viva indicated, it'll make a big difference whether it's a painted piece or a digital piece. And if anybody wants to talk to me after the meeting, I'll tell you about my experience with digital images coming
If you have
before the
questions, you can call
committee.
me, we can-
No, thanks.
all you need to-
Okay, Graham, illuminated art boxes. I guess Graham and Diane.
I understand from Diane that the illuminated art boxes panels have been reprinted, that they have been inspected by the printer, and that they are now satisfactory and have been handed over to Public Works. Over to Diane for the remainder of the story.
It's up to Public Works is with their agenda of all their work that they've got to do, to get them up So I don't have a definitive date right now of when they will be installed, but I will try to find that out.
Right, well, we always thank them for their help with this, and, you know, we always tried to get them, the images approved before the holiday craziness sets in.
I will say that Public Works did ask me that if the next time we do this, that we not have any type of installation of the new artwork November, December, or January.
Right, that's
Try
what
to
I'm
keep it
saying,
out
yeah.
of that.
Yeah, in the past, I guess because we had fewer submissions and, you know, again, throwing a compliment at Graham, you know, it is a very complicated process. So, and again, thanks to Public Works for working with us on this. And as I said, you know, it's got to be done, you know, totally ruling out the possibility of November and December and at least the first half of January at the very least because of the Epiphany. But I guess one of my concerns is we were sort of on a cycle, and that because of all of the issues with you know, having to reprint these things. The cycle's kind of been thrown off, you know.
Totally broken.
Right, so I don't know whether we want to consider the installation date, the installation of the reprinted panels, or the installation of the panels, in which case we have to find out whether, if we do it on the installation of the revised panels, the reprinted panels, then the clock on the artists that are up there starts running now. And they were told that they would be up for a year. Okay, so does that skew everything back? And I think Graham just answered that, but Graham, please.
I'd like to make a proposal that the clock be reset, that we do not install new panels until October 2025.
Oh, the new
That we
ones.
install
Right.
these
Gotcha.
as soon as possible now, let them run for 18 months instead of the year, because otherwise it'll just get too complicated, and not install until October 2025 for the next group that we do,
Well, what would be the date that you would put the call out then?
February.
No, I think we should do it before then. I think we need as much breathing room as we can
February?
get.
February gives 7 months.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's a long time already.
That's plenty of time.
Okay, no,
Okay. February 2025,
Yes.
yeah.
okay. Graham, would you like to
I'd
make?
like to make a motion to that effect.
Okay, so can I get a second? Sonia? I guess we can do this without Biba, who took a break. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So we're going to reset the clock for the call to go out February 25 for ultimate installation in October of 25.
Yeah, with the aim being that the selection would be made at the September 2025 meeting.
Okay. Okay.
Is that enough time, or should it be the August?
I think we should do it earlier because.
The August
Yeah.
2025
Because you
meeting
know
would
the
be selection.
process is time-consuming, so,
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
I would even love for them
So-
to be installed in September. but-
So let's work that. That would be February to the call.
Call, right.
August meeting would be the selection.
Right.
So that would be July 30th would be
Deadline.
the deadline. And that would give them March, April, May, June. That'd give them
That's
4
a lot.
months.
That's
That's a lot
plenty
of
of
time, because a
That's
lot
a lot
of
of time.
artists will probably already have something.
Right.
I mean,
So we'll do the call in April,
everybody has.
which would give them May and June, 2.5 months to,
Yeah, I think if you give people too much time, they forget about it.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so the call is in April?
So the call is in April. The selection, the deadline would be July 30th.
Okay, it's April now, not
June.
February.
Yeah, April, sorry. Deadline would be the end of July. The selection would be the August meeting with a goal of getting them installed during the month of August, of October.
Right.
Or
I
sooner.
mean, normally with an exhibition like down in Dunedin, I've just been given 2 months' notice that I need to have X ready for if I'm
Yeah.
interested.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're giving them plenty of time.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think, I'm not an artist, but I think that there's the assumption, as Sonia indicated, that
So-
people have something already that they're going to show. They're not going to
Oh,
be,
yeah, definitely. I'm sure there's some, well,
right.
So I'd like to move the prior motion be amended to reflect a call to artists in April, deadline of the end of July, selection committee to meet at the August meeting with a view to having the items installed in the month of October by Public Works.
Okay, going to get a second for that? Sonia? Okay, again, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Any opposed? Okay. Megan, over to you for our budget update and developer contributions.
Did you have anything for the mural? You're right. We had a slight increase. I don't have any details on what it is. There are no current project updates from Pat McNeese. Our expenditures are the same. We're sitting at $7,093.05. As of the last meeting, January 10th, we were at $49,217 in revenue, and we are now at $62,598. So there's an amount of $13,381, but I just have to put like a name on it.
Okay,
So our balance is $202,861. $202,861.
wow, we're really getting back up there.
yep.
Okay,
We still have Stephen's last payment.
Yes.
all right. Okay, which brings me, welcome back, Biba, which brings me to a new business. Since we have that balance, I think we need some proposals. So go thou into the countryside and figure out what you feel should be brought back to the committee as a future project.
So is that like a site or
Well, we
something
have to- we
specific
have
to a
to-
site or just
We
a
have to
project?
use, we have to use city property. It's gotta
Okay.
be city property. So
Okay.
keeping that in mind,
So can we just come with a project and be like, let's figure out where it goes later or?
right, concepts, ideas,
Okay, okay.
something. Okay.
Cool.
We had this wonderful concept for a while of doing something with the gateway area along the Pinellas Trail, and that died because of the inability to find some city property that we could put it on. The trail itself being county property and, and it crosses private property and so on. It was impossible. So what we have to do is come up with something that isn't location specific unless the specific location is already city property, like Craig Park.
Gotcha.
Right, and also the area at the end of the bike trail, there's that exercise park, there's that, the dog park, all of that stuff, that's all city.
Okay.
So, that's another thing to consider.
There is a
Diane.
map of city property.
Yes, we have it. It's been,
In the book.
yes, in the book.
It's in the book,
Here it is, right there. Yes.
and we all have a copy of that.
Do you have
So
one of these?
It's in your notebook that you were given, Katie.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
I do have a new project suggestion. I wanted to present something to this board, which I'll be taking to the commissioners on when they have their next meeting. So if we open a new business where I can present what I have.
well, sure, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Fire away, Katie.
Well, I'll just share this letter with you.
How many? It's like we're 7. okay.
Well, just a matter of protocol, if you want,
No,
Us.
it's addressed to you.
right, and then we bring it to the Board of Commissioners.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
Right, okay.
Okay, well, that's what I'm trying to do here.
Right, yeah, now, it's gonna take a while for us to get this into shape before
Okay.
it goes to the
Do
Board
you
of
have enough
Commissioners.
copies over there before I
Do you have
start?
another one for
Oh,
Megan?
sure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do y'all have enough copies to go around to, do y'all have, Nick, do y'all have a copy?
I think we're short one.
One, we're short one, yeah.
Pass that one around and I'll get this.
Okay.
Roughly thick, is that, okay.
I
that's
did
it.
look it.
Okay, so I'll,
You guys got enough?
Yes. Do we have enough?
do I need to read it up? Everybody can read it.
Sculpture to the city master plans project with the sign. Bohemian Sponger Hooker.
Well, if I can read it, it'll be on record for it to be heard, I take it. This letter of support is being drafted to Joan Jennings, President of Tarpon Springs Public Art Committee, Mayor Costa Valiotis, Mark LaCouris, City Manager, and Tarpon Springs Board of County Commissioners, Union Academy, community of Union Academy of Tarpon Springs, and citizens of Tarpon Springs. Request a full-figure sculpture or statue of the Bahamian sponge hooker or stringer to be placed on Dodecanese Boulevard. In the January 2020 City of Tarpon Springs Public Art Committee meeting, Vice Chair Eckmeyer suggested that the City of Tarpon Springs and the Bahamian sponge hooker sculpture be added to the master plan. This project was assigned to the City Public Art Committee. In the Bahamas, the sponger is a person who used long hooks to collect the sponges while remaining on board a boat. Historical records show that the City of Tarpon Springs that the Bahamian sponge hooker was the first sponger in Tarpon Springs. Upon their arrival, they shared their skills with many African Americans who resided in Tarpon Springs, and they became an intricate part of the sponge industry. The Bahamian men worked together in unity with African American men, Greek men as sponge clippers and stringers, as they prepared sponges for the Sponge Exchange Expo. Mr. Edward Dorset was a native of Tarpon Springs, and in 1988, he was recognized as an expert stringer. Many of these men donated their salary and their time to help complete the dome of the Greek Orthodox Church located on Pinellas Avenue, which still exists today. Mr. Wilbert Brooks, a.k.a. known as Daddy Brooks, and his wife Mary moved to Tarpon Springs in 1988 from Nassau, Bahamas. Daddy Brooks fished as a sponge hooker in the Bahamas. He worked on the sponge docks as the only Bahamian captain of the Doris II hook boat until his death. His great-granddaughter, Mrs. Diane Brooks Winthrop, resides in the area today and still has vivid, fond memories of her grandfather working on the docks. Unfortunately, she was never interviewed by the Art Committee, the Black Heritage Project Committee, which was established to do historical study on the Bahamian sponger from 2020 to 2023. Today, many visitors come to Tarpon Springs have no idea that the first sponges was Bahamian because they are not currently represented on the docks which they worked. These men deserve to be represented where they actually worked, on the working dock at Dodecanese Boulevard and not the back parking lot where they would have been in harm's way due to racism. Today, many tourists are drawn to statues and are seen taking pictures beside the bronze sculpture of the Naiads, which has no historical connection to the city of Tarpon Springs. Although the Mermaid is a beautiful art project, it has no historical value to the community, and the bronze statue of the Greek sponger diver currently standing on the working dock, which does have historical value to the community. We feel it would be greatly benefit the city to pursue more diversity and equality in the founding of this city and the contribution to the Bahamian sponge hooker and the African American part in building the sponge industry. This letter of support is respectfully asking the Board of County Commissioners for the City of Tarpon to approve this request for a full-figured sculpture or statue of the Bahamian sponge hooker or stringer be placed on the working dock near the existing sponge diver statue currently standing on the working dock. This letter is supported by signatures of over 200 citizens that have signed to support this request. We would like to recommend that a new committee be established on this project. Thank you in advance.
Okay. Well, thank you, Katie. You know, a lot of these concerns are going to be addressed, by Stephen's second sculpture, which again, it's not gonna be a full figure sculpture.
Stephen,
But-
Stephen is an art project. You said that quite clearly. Stephen is an art project.
Right.
This is history. This is not art. This is
Maybe
history.
the historical,
statues are-
well, the thing is that, again, you know, it says, you know, she was never interviewed by the Arts Committee, which was established to do the historical sculpture. It's not a historical sculpture. You know, we keep going back to that. And the thing is that the naiads were purchased before I even came on the committee. So I don't know what I believe Diana Gage brought that to the,
Yes, I mean, but the whole thing is that not every public art piece is
Historical.
historical.
right.
You know, they're pieces of art, you know, that are placed in the city. So not every piece of art has to have a story connected to it. I understand what you're doing here, but that's the thing, is like, you can't just say, okay, well, the mermaid's not, I mean, story time, you know, it's kind of like this, she is a very famous bronze artist, you
Right.
know, and so we were really lucky to have two of her sculptures in Tarpon Springs because she's internationally known, you know, so it's kind of like, it depends on, like, the perspective of what's valuable and what's not. And it's just like art is in the eye of the beholder, so is the value, you know, of, like, for instance, I love the bronze sculptures, but it's like somebody else might prefer murals, you know, and like those better. So it's like, it's very subjective, unfortunately.
Right.
This art, you know, but I think we have to also just kind of remember that, you know, it's great to have the historical perspective in public art too, but it's not always a prerequisite, you know, for making a choice, so.
right. Also, excuse me, Diane, I just want to point out too that the Greek sponge diver, that was a privately funded a project. It was not a public art project. And if you go back and look around the base, Nick, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, there are plaques with the names of the people who
I
contributed
think
to,
that donated.
Family
right, donated
to
money
that.
for the statue.
If I'm
It
not
was not
mistaken,
done
yeah.
by us or the city.
Yeah, I'm just basing my requests on what the master plan called for in 2020 by the vice chair at that time.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah. and-
Also, we've tabled anything at the sponge docks until the vision plan is created, and part of that is to declutter the working dock, because the people that are actually still sponging need the space to work. So I know that right now, anything on that dock is tabled, because it needs to be more functional for the people who are actually still working, rather than, you know, we're trying to get things taken out of that dock, not so that there's more space for them to actually be able to work and people walk. But anything down there right now, and I had asked this committee to please table anything down there at the moment until there's a better, you know, plan in place.
Does that include on the other side of the street in front of the Sponge Exchange?
Yes, everything right now, it needs to be tabled, because until they've, you know, the consultant group comes back with the vision plan, we should,
For all of Dodecanese?
all of Greektown.
That's the
Oh.
Greektown
Yes.
vision plan, I see, yeah.
All of Greektown, okay? So for right now, everything needs to be put on hold for down there, until that is approved, and we can see, because, what's gonna happen, you know, which would be very soon, actually.
I was gonna ask if you know the time frame of.
I
that.
believe within the next couple of months, they're gonna be turning in their final, things, and there'll be more, you know, the city's gonna have to do their work behind that, so. So for right now, the sponge docks, you know, needs to kind of be on the back burner, until there's a plan
So,
in place for that. But,
Yeah.
but the dock area is something been very much discussed in these meetings, and it needs to be decluttered, because the working people are having less and less space to actually do what they do.
so, in this, the Greek town plan that's happening, is that something that then this committee is going to have access to as far as after that plan is established, where it might be appropriate to put public art?
I mean, I suppose it's not really in connection with public art, the vision plan. It's more sort of some guidelines, cleaning up the dock area, how we can make it more, kind of placemaking friendly, but also some guidelines as far as the structures, what, any kind of new construction, any kind of remodeling, any, just to preserve, some of the. Yeah, go ahead.
It's sort of to balance the interest, the reason I think the whole study began is sort of balance the interest of, the businesses down there, the tourism component of it, but also that it's really, we have a working waterfront in Tarpon Springs with commercial, maritime activity, not just sponge diving, because, I mean, we do shrimping, fishing, all kinds of things out of that area. And it's not so much, as far as the public art and where it goes, but also these other businesses and how, this plan, how it can protect, the boatyards and how, or to keep them in mind when we do things, the various commercial interests. As far as for the sponge docks, on the working side, on the river side where the sponge boats are, that block, the consensus is amongst the spongers that work there that, they don't like anything, they really don't want anything there or little as possible. They're not even thrilled with the sponge diver statue that's in the middle there and all, because they have to access their boats, so they drive from one way or the other to get on the actual dock where people walk, to repair trucks or whatever they're doing. And so they really, don't want to see a lot there. Now, that doesn't preclude at all, as far as in front of the sponge exchange and anywhere else on Dedekinis, once their plan is established and kind of sorted out, they just want to put a hold until they finish with the survey that they're doing and all, and make the presentation. But
There may wind up being more space on the other side of the street if,
yeah, because one
Yeah.
of the things that I suggested for them is to remove those great big large
Right.
planters
Right, and that's what I was thinking
that
about.
that block the
That
view of
commissioners,
the
yeah.
sponge exchange, which
Right.
is historical and all, and would leave plenty of room for actual art or an installation, something inspirational.
And not
you know,
interfere with
like
the
Katie's
working dock.
talking about.
or
and stuff.
pedestrian traffic, right? Because you still have people that have to do business, right? And you need people to be able to go
But a
up
lot
and
of
down.
things have wound up there, that the shopkeepers and a lot of them, in my own experience navigating there, like some of the decorative bicycle racks that are in front of the sponge exchange and all, I've never seen a bicycle
Right,
there.
people don't
although
even
I've
know they're
bumped in-
bike racks.
I've bumped
No,
into it
they
a
all
few
need to go.
times.
yeah.
So there's these different components that, we don't want to lose sight of the forest for all the trees.
Sure,
And so that's
Okay.
kind of the focus of that study.
Okay.
we're doing.
Yeah, are they gonna do anything about clearing up the clutter from all the shops and sidewalks?
There's been, commentary.
We've all added our 2 cents.
We've
worth
all
in.
added our 2 cents.
All as
What will
far as,
happen in the end is another
overhangs and
story.
things that
A
you
lot
see
of
over the
the extra
businesses.
planters and extra
Right.
things that
It's
are.
so much
Weeds
fun
growing
walking
on
single
people's
file
roofs and
down
stuff there.
Especially when I'm half lame
Right.
with my
So
cane
that's,
bumping
those
into
are,
people.
that's definitely been part of the,
I know there's a lot
discussion.
of conversation on the working dock, and I can understand that. I understand completely where you're coming from. But this is a historical, where these men worked down there, they were the first
Yeah.
sponges, and there's no representation.
Oh, I
of
agree
them
with you 100%.
On the Dodecanese.
know.
I'm all for, that's why I asked for a committee to be established, because it have to be research done. And yes, that planter across the street was looked at. So
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with across the street, as long as they're represented in that area.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a valid project to bring up in our, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that we're not able to consider them until after that plan is done, and then we can move forward with that exact.
Because I like for this to be brought to the commissioners before, so it could be in the works. It can be brought on the agenda, and then you can establish a date as to when something
Then
can
just
be
kick it
done.
back to us.
Okay, well, it'll kick
Yeah.
it back to us then. So will
So-
it be brought up to the commissioners, or do I have to read it to them? How does this
Well,
work?
Let me answer that, if you wouldn't mind.
sure.
As a citizen of Tarpon Springs, you can bring anything you like to the commission. You can go to any commission meetings and bring up any subject that you want to. You're entitled to that. There's a specific mechanism for doing it. You can send it in by email, you can write and tell them about it, or you can go there and read it. If you send it in advance, then they can include it in the package of information that they provide for the public to read and for all of the commissioners. So there's a certain advantage in that. Like, for instance, you have this group of signatures, and they might like to have that included in their backup material. So I would recommend that you go that route for that reason, and ask for permission to speak on it. And if they say it's not appropriate or I can't imagine what they might say, right? You still have the option as a citizen of Tarpon Springs to talk to them about anything you please. So, you've got a number of things that you can do there, and I'd strongly recommend that you do that. And like Joan said, if they listen, then they're going to send it to us, and we'll be I'd be happy now to look at it, but you want to take it to the commission first, so.
I just don't want
you
to,
know.
I just don't want it to die here today, and then 2 months from now, nothing's been done, nothing's been said, it's been brought nowhere.
Well,
It's just sitting here.
as these guys down here said, nothing
Nothing is being done down
is
there
going to
right
be
now.
done down at the docks anyway.
Right.
But planning could take place. I mean, we could have a call to artists for a piece, to describe that. And that, I think, would be an appropriate thing for this committee to discuss, would be the formation of a selection committee and the issuance of a call to artists for a piece to celebrate the African-American and Bahamian sponge hookers. I think that's a great thing to bring to the committee, and I wish you would.
Well, if you follow the kind of the path of Stephen Oliver's committee, it's pretty much what Gordon said. Why do I keep calling you Gordon? I have no Graham, I'm just much too tired. Anyway, yeah, but the protocol would be to present it to us, ask us to consider it. You could either do it, I think, as a member of the PAC, or you could get somebody who's not a member to propose it. I'm not sure what the exact thing would be.
Oh, she's, she's actually doing it now, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
so-
well,
And we're
we
bringing
can-
projects anyway, right?
Yeah.
Right, so we can
Exactly,
consider
next
this,
meeting.
Katie, we can consider this submitted to us as of today?
Yeah.
Okay, the next step would be to create a selection panel, okay? And again, I don't know whether Nick would want to take this on, or Biba. It's got to be a voting member of the PAC.
Can I sit
What
on
do you
that
mean,
panel?
I'm sorry, by selection
We're
panel?
not voting members. Oh, we could
Well, I mean,
probably
we'd have to.
sit on
we'd have
it.
to
Separate
project
from
first,
us as
right,
far as-
before we correct.
Yes.
Well, this
Yeah, me
is
too.
the project.
Yeah, me too.
I understand. So
Well,
we have to approve the
if
project before we
anybody's
create a
absent, you
selection
do have
Right,
voting
but
power.
it's,
If 2 people are
in other
absent,
words,
we
we're going to
both-
need a
we
meet,
both have voting power.
Yeah, 'cause I wanna
I
sit
guess
on
what
this
I want
committee.
everybody to be aware of is the process as a whole. Okay, it would have to be motion, second, and voted on at this meeting to consider this proposal, okay? Then you have to create a selection panel. And the chair, ex officio, has to be a voting member of the committee, okay? Anybody, of the panel. Once the selection committee is decided upon, they will meet independently. They would schedule their own, we used to meet at the library, okay? Usually whoever is the chair simply reports back to the PAC. I mean, you could have the first meeting 4 months from now, even select the selection panel, or put it together, and schedule a meeting 4 months from now.
Or 4 days.
Right, okay. But, the thing is, once you create the selection panel, they are then responsible for issuing any call to artists. And that's why, it's important to get a cross-section of a lot of people with different areas of expertise. So you know, as this appears to have a strong historical component, you're going to need somebody who's very up on the history of Tarpon Springs.
Ms. Brenda Dorset is very fluent on historical things.
Well, you would just, sit down.
People in the community, yeah, that,
Right. They can be community members, but it also gives a little more oomph if you've got people, somebody from the Historical Society should be on it because, as I said, there's a lot of history. That could be someone very well versed in local,
No, I like to be on it.
community history,
Could Mr. Stackhauser be on it?
if he agrees to it.
Yeah.
He's no
Because-
longer a member, so.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any conflict of interest because he's no longer a public art.
I
Yeah.
would like to ask if he
So-
would be on it.
Yeah, you can't ask me because I'm on the committee.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you're saved.
For me. Yeah, you'd say for me, too.
Except for
Dawn?
whoever
Except-
the
You're ex
whoever
officio on it.
whoever the chair of that
Okay,
is, though.
let me shortcut this. I move that the Public Art Committee consider a panel to choose or select a sculpture to be placed somewhere, yet to be determined, that would represent the African-American and Bahamian sponge hookers from Tarpon Springs history. And that a member of this committee be empowered to find and recruit such a panel. How's that?
Okay, what about the proposal? Do you want to include that as part of your motion?
No.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
That's up to the panel to choose if they want to look at that or not. It's up to them.
okay.
And I
So
just
do I
kinda
have
feel
a
like
second?
To
I just feel
have
like
a,
we're ignoring
to have
the
a,
pause on the
the,
sponge docks for now.
the,
No, this
Okay.
is,
No, we're not.
no.
Okay.
it's got
we're not.
nothing to do
Look how
with
long it
what's
took
going
me to
on.
do Stephen Oliver's project. It was only 4 years. Come
Only
on.
4 years.
Right, yeah.
Where are you
Surely
rushing
you'll
to?
have finished within then.
Right.
Okay. If we do this before that committee comes back, it'll be a miracle. I speak from experience. Anyway,
Through that.
okay. Can I get a second on Graham's motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Sonia?
Okay.
Okay, is there any discussion, comments?
could you
Nick?
read it one more time?
Yeah, because I'm
I was trying to remember
confused
what
as
they
to, are we considering it? Because it's
I
kind of
can,
like
I
just got
can,
thrown
I
at us. I
can
need time to think.
paraphrase it.
Okay.
Right?
First of all, what we
Wait,
need to.
excuse
what-
me, Megan, do you have it?
I just got motion to form a committee to put together a plan for a sculpture somewhere that will represent the Bahamian sponge hookers from the Tarpon Springs community.
Well, African-American and Bahamian
I mean, I
sponge
thought that's
hookers.
what Stephen's thing is.
on the decking.
Well, is there a motion to consider to actually set this up?
That's where
That
we
was the
want to
motion.
go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But
Are you,
that's
you just
down
want
the
to
road.
consider it, or do you want to actually
Thank you for that.
set up some kind of?
I'm
And
ready
is
to-
it somewhere
I've
or
been
is
here a
it
year and I'm still-
Well,
Dodecanese?
what-
Because I'm getting conflicting info.
In a place to be determined.
I mean, we can't guarantee Dodecanese when we don't even have a plan yet
Right.
for there.
Right.
And-
Right.
And
There's
haven't, I don't want to guarantee something,
The committee
Yeah.
will look at that.
right,
Yeah.
because
Right,
there's no plan, we don't know if there's any public property available that's, suitable. We can't guarantee.
Exactly.
Something on a street,
Right.
it's just, that's why, like, I think there's needs, like, I
I'm
don't like
just
voting on
wondering-
things when I'm just been
I
thrown at it.
wonder if we should tackle this now, or if Katie should take what she gave us with the 200 signatures and start at a city commission meeting, or go and, or not at the meeting, go ahead of time and, and go to each, go to the mayor, go to each commissioner and all, and,
I've kind of done that, Nick.
oh, you have?
And
Okay,
yes,
okay,
and
well, I'm
yeah.
just
Well,
saying that.
it said bring
that
it here.
perhaps it should.
Well, that's what I.
Well, I'm just saying, what always helps is if you get them to want this, and then they are sort of the impetus guiding us to, we want you to do a bronze statue, of
Up on the
this.
word
I'm
bronze.
just saying, as far as, it's easier to go to the top and have them tell people, what they'd like to see, and all, as opposed to
I was
us?
told to bring it here.
Pardon?
And then I was told to bring it here.
Oh, you spoke with them and they
I've
suggested you
spoken
come
to
to
someone.
us?
I-
Okay.
I was
then
told
we've
to
done
bring it
that.
here.
Okay.
And let the art council support it.
Oh, okay, so I'm.
That
more-
was the purpose of having a motion that has now been seconded that we can now talk about, right?
Right.
Is we can now say, for instance, we could, if we wanted to, we could appoint somebody from the committee or volunteer from somewhere else to make a presentation to anybody that we felt like, that we, thought might be of assistance in that. We can ask one of our members to head up the formation of a selection panel for such a thing, or an investigation
would be the-
panel, or whatever we want to do now. But we couldn't before because we didn't have anything on the table to talk about.
Okay, okay.
Now we do.
And,
Okay.
I'm just wondering, if I'd be allowed,
Baby
as
step
if I'm a
one.
member of the
This is baby
committee,
step
would
one.
I be
It's a start.
allowed to be on the selection?
You could chair it.
Chair
You
it.
could chair it.
Well,
No, it's just,
I don't
it's,
really know if I want to chair it,
Sit on
and,
this committee, right?
I'll be the one putting out the call to artists and the,
well, no, I mean, that Diane would do that, but,
oh, okay.
but the, poor Diane.
Yeah, your city liaison will help you in all sorts of ways
Yeah.
that you
Right.
can't imagine.
Basically, your job would be to maintain communication, to create a selection panel, call meetings of the selection panel. You don't have to take minutes, you don't have to do anything else, because usually, someone.
Your city liaison will help.
Okay, so basically, it's a coordination of all the kind of the moving parts.
I was asking, so for Biba, for Biba's sake,
Sure, you're quiet but wily.
since she has so much expert, she's down there and, I mean, I'm around there as well, and she's right there, St.
Right.
Nicholas Boat Lines, that they're there, so I was just, as far as, someone from the community, since we're talking sponging and all, and since someone from the Bahamian, since we're talking sponging and all, that would, but of course you'd need the ancillary, the experts in the history and all, and, I'm sure we have people in mind who have that, in all the in our various communities here in Tarpon, that would,
Right, that's what I did
Yeah,
with
the-
Stevens, what ended up being Stevens' project. I just, selected a cross-section of people's expertise and their role in the community. So, you do something like that, to, create, the call to artists, and as you said, if you specifically want a bronze statue, then that would be one of the elements in the call to artists. So, you might want to get someone who's familiar with sculptures, to sit on the jury panel, because they would know how to judge these things.
Well, you need somebody who understands art. You can't just not
Exactly.
just about history.
Right, yeah,
You can't have a committee that has no one on it that understands art.
right. Yeah, the emphasis, we keep going back to this, the emphasis is on art. It's just like, for Stevens' project, Dudley Sally was on the committee because he was the president of the Historical Society. But, he was also like third-generation Tarpon, so, he knew obviously, the community, the history, and things of that sort. But, basically what you have to do is create, I guess where I'm going with this, a well-rounded committee of people with, overlapping but distinct areas of expertise. And there's really no limit to the size of the selection panel.
Except that you want to be careful that it doesn't get unwieldy.
Right.
Right.
Right, yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be 3 or 5 or.
You want me to send me to the
So
wolves?
I have a
Send me to the
question.
wolves?
So as far as who,
I'll participate.
Biba?
according to, the rules and all that kind of stuff, you said a voting member of the committee has to be like the
Chair.
liaison, right? The chair. So can other people on the committee be on that selection panel or no? non-voting member?
You'd start having problems with sunshine laws.
Gotcha.
I don't have any voting privileges. I'm just here if somebody's absent.
Right,
So I'm
but-
kind of like a lame duck. I can't vote, but I can't be on a committee.
Well,
I would like to be on
I've
this
voted
committee if
many
possible.
times.
Again, it's, it's a sunshine law issue.
But I want one of us
The
to
thing
do it.
is that
I
two
want one of
members
us to
of
be on it.
BIBA,
I'm sorry.
Let's, Chair has the
You're right,
floor.
I'm sorry. Terribly sorry. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
the idea behind sunshine law is if there's anything that's going to come before this body for a vote, you cannot talk to or communicate on any level with another member of the committee. I can call you up and ask you to lunch, but I can't talk to you about this.
Right.
Okay? So, I've always felt that I've been railing against this since I got on this committee, because I feel, given that we're an art committee, it's not appropriate, because art is about communication.
Right.
I mean, I could see it with the quasi-judicial committees, like, zoning, because you don't want to, hey, Graham, yeah, you want to put a pool in your backyard? Yes, let's talk about this. No.
Anna Cabana.
Oh, okay. But, the thing is that it was set up to prevent collusion and insider trading, which we don't do.
Don't do.
This is all about, the whole purpose of art is to communicate. So it's really been stupid applying to this committee. And when it was established in 2007, there was a choice about how this was going to be set up. And the choice they made at the time was an option to set it up in such a way that it fell under sunshine laws.
Which
Okay,
is
so
often
now-
why things move really slowly, too.
Yeah, because the
So-
only time we can talk is when we're here.
So in short, if you wanted to be on that selection panel, you could not also sit on this committee.
So like, what if, rather than Nick being in front of it, I work on that?
Because you're not a voting member.
You're not a voting
Well, there we
member.
go. I'm stuck in the Chuck. I'm stuck like Chuck. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm being blocked out on something that I want to be a part of.
Well, but
But
you
you're
will
blocked
be a
out by
part of
Florida
it.
law, not by us.
Right. And you will be part of it because all of this stuff gets brought back here and we discuss it. And there have been several times when I've been a voting member, even though I'm an alternate, because, different people are absent for whatever reason, and I have been a voting member. So it's not,
Well, the other thing, Katie, you might also have noticed that since I've chaired this committee, I've given everybody a voice. If you look at other committees, they don't even talk or let anybody who's an alternate even speak.
really?
Really?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Watch the movies.
No, go back and look at the tapes. But, and they're there solely to cover for an absent member. If you go back and look at the PAC videos, I have always given the alternates a chance to speak, a chance to contribute. And just like Dawn's been working on the,
Yeah, I work on projects.
right. There's nothing preventing you from working on something, but we just can't have any cross-pollination. Diane?
So basically, if one of the voting members of the PAC chairs the selection committee, in the course of discussions at our meeting, Katie can make suggestions on who she feels would be good candidates to be on the selection committee.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I just want you to understand that, is that even though you're not physically chairing it, you do have a voice in our meetings on, you could give them a whole list, is that these people, give them the person's name, their email, their phone number, and say, I recommend that you consider these people for the committee, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
you could
that-
email
But that's
that.
done like in the context of the meeting, because
Right.
like, let's just say that Nick chaired the selection committee for this project, you couldn't contact him and just say, here, Nick, this is who I think, offline. But in this meeting, in one of our meetings, you can certainly do that, because we're all together, and it is, you know, a public meeting, so.
And,
Right, 'cause
and
the
in
other thing
fact,
too
if-
is it could be emailed prior to the meeting to
Right.
Diane.
And then I
it
could give it to
be
him.
On the
Given,
agenda.
given to all of us as a handout ahead of time,
Yes.
so we
I know
can
at least
think
3 or
about
4
it.
people that want to be
Sure.
on this committee.
Yeah,
Sure. Right.
absolutely.
Right.
Okay.
Or, you know, alternatively, you know, one option that hasn't been mentioned is that you could propose that we have a working committee to discuss the makeup of the panel, right? At which point, everybody would bring their suggestions to the panel. The only problem with that is that then that meeting, as a working committee meeting, has to be scheduled in city property where it can be recorded and so on. And and getting onto the schedule for these rooms is, you know, it's not easy.
It's much easier if you just have selection committee members that you would like to suggest, just to email
Yeah.
them directly to me.
Yeah.
And then I could
Yeah,
distribute it.
and then during our monthly meetings, we'll get updates, just like Nick has been doing for the Dorset Park. We'll get updates on what our involvement is in all of that. And, you know, I've never had a problem being involved in the discussions. Nobody's ever tried to make
the
it to where
main-
I couldn't, so, yeah.
The main thing is if somebody will step up now to be the chairperson, right, then it's on the way. And it's moving and things are happening.
Sonia's also a voting
Do I
member.
hear a motion, Nick, about nominating?
I haven't done this before.
I mean, I'll, if Nick can't do it, I'll do it. I mean, I've got a lot on my
I
plate.
haven't
but-
done this
Don't-
before. I
don't
mean,
you-
if I have
I think Sonia could do it.
No, I want,
Biba just volunteered.
I mean,
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All in
Biba, I'll
favor
help.
of Biba chairing the,
Oh, that's just appointment by the chair.
okay.
what? Oh, you're just appointing me.
Congratulations, yes.
All right. So then, you know,
Nick, you're evil.
he is evil. That's okay. I still love him. All right, so then I guess we just take suggestions from everybody when, you know,
Right, but
email,
the
email Diane.
Exactly.
suggestions.
The emails, the suggestions all go to Diane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or Katie, in your case, if you know somebody specifically on the committee that's, in the community rather, that's interested, have them directly email Diane.
Well,
She can do it.
Right, I know, but, or the alternatively, they could just contact Diane directly,
Okay.
okay?
all right.
But it's important that the selection committee be set up as soon as possible so that they can meet as a group and formulate the call to artists. Because until that happens, nothing happens.
Right.
Right.
Well, again,
Can I just ask
this
something?
is going to be a slower process.
Because I'm just trying to process all of this now in my own head for future. So when we select a selection panel, will they then determine what kind of a statue it will be, whether it be
Oh,
bronze
they will,
or?
right.
Make recommendations, yeah.
Yeah, they
Make
can make
recommendations.
recommendations.
Okay.
You know, if you go back and, you know, I don't know whether they were they in the binder? But somewhere there exists, I'm sure Diane has them, the minutes from the Stephen Oliver selection panel,
Okay,
how
I'll
it
have a
worked.
look.
You know, we got, for, you know, there was discussion about the call to artists itself. And then once that was decided upon, the final wording of that was decided upon, Diane put it out, you know, she's got all of these different sites, one of them is Cafe, you know, and there are fees for some of these. And what we did to try to keep costs down, because we did have a lot of, dare I say, and back to this again, a lot of historical background, you know, including photographs and things of this sort, to try to give the artist a better idea of what we wanted, we did it as an appendix. So if an artist saw this and said, oh, this looks like something I'd be interested in doing, but I'd like more information, Diane would just email them the appendix, because you pay by the word for these things. So, you know, there are little tricks of the trade and everything, and I'm sure, you know, Diane will help you out, or she can kick it to me and I'll send it to her and she can forward it on. But, you know, once, you know, we set a deadline for submissions, and as I said, we got 14 of them, and then the panel had to, you know, consider,
All
you
right, so
know.
I have a question though.
Sure.
Does this project though have to, before we set up a selection panel, doesn't it have to be approved by the commission or no?
No,
No? Okay.
no, we are it.
Okay. I'm just asking so that we're
Once-
not over, you know,
When the
We-
fu-
we
stepping
have-
over the.
We have limits on what we can spend without going to the commission to get final approval.
That'll never even fund the pinky of a bronze statue.
Right.
Right.
So yes, in the end, we have to go to them, but not right now.
Final approval,
Okay, I didn't know if, you know.
No.
Yeah, in fact, when does the budget get set?
Usually that's a discussion between the selection panel and probably Diane to find out, you know,
You find out every meeting how much
Right.
money we have, so you have to keep that in mind, and kind of maybe the selection committee should do some research on what bronzes, actually
Right,
go
yeah,
for.
Are we, so we're saying it's bronze or?
I don't
just
know, well,
exposure?
that's something with the
that's-
selection
that's
the
true.
panel.
That's
Your
for the
committee
panel.
will,
Right,
will do
okay, so
that.
I'm asking, is this
Yeah.
Right.
you know,
I'm just saying,
And, it's kind of like being in real estate, you run comps, you see what other projects have cost,
Depending on what you
and what's a reasonable,
I just think it's hard without an actual ability to say that there's a spot for something to.
well, as I said,
No.
this other project took me 4 years,
Right.
so if you think this will take 4 years, you might be optimistic.
Might be optimistic.
No, I mean,
Well,
I mean,
like I said, it's not, it's, right now is not the time, but. they're
at the end
getting-
of the day, just remember, this is all framed in a bureaucracy,
Right.
okay? It's
Yeah.
not like going to General Foods and saying, hey, I want to do this, and they say, oh, yeah, we'll write you a check. Ain't gonna happen. It's gotta go, you have to go through all these hoops and all these approvals and all these committees and subcommittees and the Board of Commissioners and,
and we have to also remember, when it's all said and done, that the Public Art Committee is an advisory committee to the city of Tarpon Springs, an advisory committee.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
right, so we can make very, very strong suggestions, but we can't say, we're doing this without them giving us the blessing. Okay, wow, this is a record meeting.
Yeah.
I think that was a very good start to your, call for project suggestions for next
I
meeting,
think it's
so.
a doozy, thank you,
Yeah.
Katie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All
I think
right.
it's a
Yeah.
great project, yeah.
I think it's a
Okay,
great idea.
yes.
So we haven't had a vote yet on it.
We had discussion?
Yeah, there's a motion and a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's carried, so, all right. So that'll be considered.
So the motion is to consider it, correct?
right.
Not, to- okay.
Diane, staff reports?
I have nothing today, thank you.
Any committee, comments or anything like that? Okay, public comments, there's no public.
No, I have something. Some of you may know that since, I've noticed that other members of the committee do the self-promotion bit every now and again. I thought I'd do a little bit of self-promotion here. I am a part of a new theatre that is opening on February 29th.
Okay, you're under announcements, keep going.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, I called for committee, keep going.
Oh, I thought you
Go,
wanted.
no, announce.
I thought we were under announcements, sorry.
Proceed. and then-
Proceed, just let's go.
Okay. So, some friends of mine and myself have started a new theatre down in Clearwater called Theatre 4. I'm going to pass out business cards on the way out, let you all know. It's got a website, it's got a phone number, and you all know me. So, if you want to know more, either, take me out to lunch and I'll tell you all about it.
I'll tell you everything.
But I won't talk about Public Art Committee business. Or just look at the website. There's a lot of information there.
Okay. Anybody else? Because if not, I've got a couple of quick things. Tarpon artist Elizabeth Indianos is presenting a film of Liber Taylor at the Lipa Ratner. And among other things, I'm on the board of the LIPA, and there is going to be an invitation to a Tarpon Arts designee to join the advisory board of the museum. I spoke to Diane about that, it's not under sunshine. So I think she's pointing her little laser vision at Brandon. So, you know, and the other thing too is, you know, this museum is like 3 miles away from us. Visit it, it's free, you know?
And it's
I
really
love
good.
it.
It's
Yeah.
a really nice,
I go there quite often.
a lot of people don't even know it exists, so,
And they do change the exhibits.
yes, okay. Our next regular meeting is Wednesday, March 13th at 2 PM, and we are adjourning at the ghastly hour of 4:23. Thank you, everybody.
Happy Valentine's
you.
Day.